The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Well, welcome into a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. We're with you till 3 o'clock talking local sports, talking all kinds of other kind of sports that aren't necessarily local, and we have a blast doing it. Off the air, we were talking about how a mullet is much like a volleyball
Well, when you're
player.
playing like we were talking about Grace Hour, when you're playing like Grace Hour at Crestview, she does a lot of business in the front row when she's an attacker, and
Yep.
she can go and do some party in the back row with her setting.
Much
and
like
her
a
digging.
mullet. Business in the front, party in the back.
Her and Lucy Montgomery for Crestview have had multiple triple doubles on the season in Crestview. We were talking is the back-to-back-to-back MVAC champions as they beat Newton Falls last night in 4 sets.
We've talked about how basketball isn't necessarily up to snuff in our area in terms of kids getting out to the regionals and not really faring all that well once we get to regionals. Volleyball's kind of the same thing as well, but there's a couple of programs that I feel pretty good about if they're able to get out of districts and go into the regionals. Crestview is one of those programs.
Crestview should definitely get into a regional, but when you look at it, the way they're set up, they actually, this year is a lot different. They got to pick which bracket they wanted to be on. So they're avoiding the team that they lost to in the regional semifinals last year in Independence, who went all the way to win the state. So they're avoiding them. So they have a regional semifinal matchup with whoever wins that Northeast 4 bracket.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how, because they're voted the 1 seed in our region. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare in the bottom half of that bracket instead of having to deal with Independence up in the top half.
You know, I had questioned the OHSAA and wondering why they would have the two districts that are split up playing each other immediately. Why wouldn't they play the other two districts that that encompass that region, have one play the other and the other one play the other? I don't know. I don't understand why you would do that. Now, the other aspect of this is, if I'm right in this, the top 2 teams in each of these districts are going to go immediately to the regionals, or is it the top team that goes to the regionals?
Immediately? No, you still have to win your district.
Okay, so
like Crestview, they voted 1 through 23 in our area.
yes,
Crestview was the 1 seed, and then they got to pick what bracket they wanted to go in because there are 2 brackets you can choose from now.
okay,
Because usually in a normal world it'd be 1 to 13. You just vote on your district.
okay.
Now you're voting on like your whole. It's not the whole region, but it's like your half of the region.
You're half of the region.
So for example, last year and the year before was South Range versus Crestview in the district championship.
Okay,
Not going to happen this year because they're on opposite sides of the region.
okay.
So South Range and Crestview wouldn't even meet each other until a regional final.
So you would have 2 teams go into the regionals from the.
Yeah, we could have 2 teams from our area in the regional now instead of them having to play each other for a district.
Okay. See, then here's my question: why would the OHSAA have in the regional semifinals the 2 number 1 seeds play each other? Now that's the example when East Bay. Or whatever the hell the name is, Zach Morris Bayside High. I don't know what it is.
Hey, Bayside!
Yeah, when they're playing Howland in the boys soccer if
Right.
if both of them are able to get out of
And
their
really,
quote district.
The OHSA left it up to the teams on what bracket they wanted to go to. So,
Yeah.
for example, Crestview didn't want to play South Range in a district, so they went off to the opposite side.
Okay. See, but to me,
But
I think
they could have went to the bracket they would have played
Yeah.
South Range and then played Independence probably in the regional.
To
semi.
me, I think it's better if you sit back and go, okay, the one seeds in if it's chalk, the one seeds are going to be two of the teams in the regional. The two seeds are going to be the other two teams in the regional. So if it's chalk, and even if it's not chalk, have it where the regional semifinal is the number one seed from one of these districts takes on the number two seed from the other district, and the one seed from the other district takes on the two seed from this particular district, and then they go into the regional championship game. That's how they should have set this up.
And it's set up like that in some, but others, because teams wanted to be in another district, they just didn't set it up that way.
Yeah, that's just that's on the OHSAA. And again, go back to soccer, assuming that everything works out in Division II in soccer. To have Bay Village Bay take on Howland in a regional semifinal, that's ludicrous. Because those are the two best teams,
Right.
not only in your region, those are the two best teams in the friggin' state. And you're going to have these two teams play in the regional semis because they happen to fall district-wise or whatever. That's garbage. Have both number ones play the opposite number twos or whoever comes out of that bottom bracket, and then play your regional championship. It's just my personal opinion.
I get what you're
I got a
coming
bone
from,
to pick
yeah.
with Tim
Absolutely.
Street on that one.
Yeah, you have to get him on the phone.
And normally we don't have anger toward Tim Street because he's a good guy. And this isn't any of his
Subtly
concern.
picking a bone, we're not mad at that.
Well, no,
It's not like-
it's just if you want to have a perfect tournament, then you got to at least have the fortitude, if you're going to expand this, to sit back and go, okay, if they're the one seeds, why would we play them in the regional semifinals? It doesn't make any sense. You're essentially telling the other non-number one seeds, hey, you get to go to the regional championship without playing a one seed. That's absurd.
And then also, seeding isn't exact science in these. I mean, sometimes one seeds just get one seeds because of their record. I mean, they're not exactly the best team in the district. You know that.
Well, of course.
And we see that in basketball as well.
And the other part of that is
baseball,
politics.
softball.
Yeah, the other part of that is politics.
And respect, respect for what they've done in the past, or whatever it may be, or the schedule, or whatever it may be. Sometimes there are 12 and 8 teams that don't get a one seed that are a lot better than every other team in that district.
Well, here's a great example. Maple Heights is going to be traveling to Warren. Maple Heights has a better record than Harding, yet Maple Heights doesn't get the home game. Harding does. So, if I'm the coach of Maple Heights, I'm pretty much looking at my guys and saying, we have a better record than these guys, yet they have the home game. You guys got no respect. If you want to get some respect, go over to Warren and take care of business on Friday night.
And I'm also, I'm kind of missing the. I get that it's better for us because we have now Crestview, South Range can both win a district championship without playing each other. But that was a heck of a rivalry heating up in the district.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
I mean, they would have been, if they would have both gotten into the district championship this year, it would have been 3 straight years where those two teams met in the district championship.
In all sports, Crestview and South Range is a great rivalry now. Not just in volleyball. I mean, hell, in football.
How about in the female sports, the team sports? Last year, volleyball, Crestview, South Range. Basketball, Crestview, South Range. Softball, Crestview, South Range. Well, the last softball season, softball got cut short this year, but the last softball season, Crestview, South Range.
Absolutely.
So,
and you got on the guys' side, football, both baseball teams have been pretty solid. Basketball, not so much. Crestview's not at South Range's level in basketball quite yet. We'll see if they're able to at some point. I think they're going to be a much better basketball team this year. And Coach Gates hopefully will.
He's the guy for that job.
Yeah, hopefully he's going to get the most bang for his buck out of the young kids, because like their basketball team or like the football team last year, didn't know seniors last year, so they got everybody back this year. They should be a lot of fun to watch. So we'll see.
Canfield looks really impressive in volleyball as well.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Canfield and Fitz, they're both good. They're on opposite sides of the brackets. They don't have to play each other.
Yeah.
And they're both just the things they can do and the offensive sets they can run. It's very fun volleyball to watch when those two teams collide. They did last night.
Yeah, it was a great game, great match. So that's definitely a couple of teams that might be able to buck the trend that we've had recently of our volleyball not doing very well once we get out of the districts and into the regionals.
Watch for Lakeview in Division II, and also watch for Division IV. We have a handful of good teams, whether it be Western Reserve, Wellsville, or Mineral Ridge. They all could make some noise out of the districts.
Well, Wellsville's got the best coach in the state.
Yeah,
he's got the winningest coach. They have the winningest coach in the
Ridge
state.
is the 1 seed. So
yeah, exactly.
Ridge is the 1 seed.
Be fun to watch.
So
it'll definitely be fun to watch. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll get our Notre Dame scoop of the week. We'll get our news of the week out of South Bend with Brian Driscoll. You can see his work, irishbreakdown.com. Notre Dame taking on Louisville this week as they go through the ACC. As a member of the ACC, this is really cool.
To be politically correct, they want to pronounce Louisville. I refuse. I mean, if you go down there, though, they want it Louisville, not Louisville.
Yeah.
So
well, we're not in the South.
We're not in the South. So
yeah, it's Louisville.
It's Louisville.
Yeah.
It's named after King Louis in the French. So
yeah.
it's Louisville.
It's not like
King
the French.
Louis.
Yeah, it's not like the
King
French
Louis.
are going King Louis.
They didn't decapitate King Louis
Yeah.
with a guillotine. No,
Yeah.
it's Louis. Deal with it. Okay.
Sortez bleu.
Sacre bleu.
Sortez bleu. King Louis. Louis. Yeah.
Off with his head.
Yeah, and I'm sure people were going Louis, whoa. Yeah, but we'll stop with that one. Brian Tolnar will talk some PGA, and we'll also talk about Mill Creek. This just in. There's a lot of trees at Mill Creek, and this just in.
Shocker.
The leaves are starting to fall. So how do you play golf when there's a crap load of leaves on the golf course? Well, if you're at Mill Creek, you don't have that problem because the grounds crew working overtime and then some. We'll talk with Brian Tolnar about how they keep that course in really good shape with all of the leaves starting to fall onto the ground in Mill Creek.
And Brian can also give us a nice high school golf recap of the week. And high school golf is in their tournament swing, so excited to
I
hear
like
how
what
the
you did there
golfers
with
are
the
doing.
tournament swing.
Yeah,
I like what you did there. John Vargo will be talking some local sports. We'll get him at 2 o'clock. And again, he covers the YSU men's and women's basketball program better than anyone. That's just a fantastic job as the beat reporter for YSU men's and women's basketball. We'll get a couple of tidbits from John as those two teams are preparing themselves for what we believe is going to be an unbelievable season.
Basketball's
Knock on
getting
wood.
closer.
Knock on wood and
Now,
hope
the
and pray
Horizon
COVID's
League,
gone.
have they released what their plans for a basketball season looks like?
The last I spoke with Rob, who is the play-by-play guy for the men's team, they were working on the template for the conference play.
Because Horizon League has been very timid so far in their sports. I mean, they were one of the first to cancel fall, and so I'm interested to see how they handle.
They were cautious
going into fall.
Yeah, they were cautious.
They were a little overly cautious.
Absolutely. But now let's be honest. Now knowing what we know,
all the other the big conferences, they're still playing all their fall sports without a lot of hitches.
Most of the FCS is not playing football.
No, but remember, Horizon League doesn't have football.
No, that's true.
So that was one of the other reasons why it was an easier decision because their money wasn't being made in fall.
Yeah, they don't have money from that perspective. They do not have a football league. Although, how many of those teams have football?
Not a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly. Cleveland State doesn't have football.
Milwaukee doesn't have football.
No. Green Bay?
Nope.
No.
Detroit Mercy?
Wright State?
Wright State?
Northern Kentucky?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's not a football conference.
UIC? No.
Yeah. IUPUI?
Maybe. I think they have a football team.
Robert Morris has a football team.
They're
the new ones.
Yeah.
In Oakland doesn't have a football team.
Nope.
So, you can see why the Horizon League had a easier decision with everything because they don't have the quote money maker.
That's what I said. I said, let's see if they're still this overly cautious when their revenue sport comes along.
They're not going to be. No,
Yeah,
hell
no.
no. Hell no, they're not going to be that overly cautious
Right.
because they know that basketball is their chief money maker. So I think that we'll have a basketball season, and unfortunately, COVID's still very much in the fold. There's plenty of things that have gone on that have screwed the NFL schedule up and whatnot. But you deal with it. It is what it is.
I think it speaks wonders that we haven't had a ton of problems in the college realm. We've had a couple of teams here and there with a little bit of an outbreak.
Yeah,
but it speaks to the words, and we'll talk to Driscoll about this as well. It's easier to control the college athletes and keep them in a contained spot than it is professional athletes and tell them, hey, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to control these colleges and these high school athletes.
It is.
Than it is to
Now, when they get into the postseason, there's word that as long as they don't invite the fans into the football stadiums in the National Football League, there is talk now, serious talk, that the playoffs will be in a bubble. I got no problems with that. I mean, if you want to put the AFC in Indianapolis,
because they don't want something to happen during the playoffs.
Exactly.
They don't want like a Tennessee to happen in the middle of the playoffs.
Well,
that's why MLB put their postseason in a bubble.
Exactly.
You just want to control the variables.
Exactly. And if you want to put the AFC in Indianapolis, which is a domed stadium,
that's fine.
They
might host the first round like the MLB did. It's way too many teams to bubble in the first round.
But you got 7 teams. There's no way you can bubble 7 teams.
When you start to get into the AFC Championship, NFC Championship, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be in one spot anyway, though, right?
Even the divisional playoffs.
What's the point of putting those two in a bubble? I mean, the AFC Championship, NFC Championship, that's in one spot. So, I mean, are you going to – I don't know.
You can put the divisional playoffs in a bubble. That's not a problem because you got all 4 teams in each conference staying in one location. And then you just have a doubleheader of football, or a single game from each location on a Saturday, single game from each location on a Sunday. Championship games, the 2 teams that lose, sorry about your luck, get out of the bubble, don't come back. And then the championship games from each place, and then you still have your Super Bowl in Tampa. There you go. Problem solved, if there is a problem. Speaking of problems, no problems in South Bend, although they were flatter than a pancake, but we'll talk with Brian Driscoll about that.
Not for the whole game.
Not for the whole game, but there was a couple of things that were kind of
we guessed
weird.
That would happen.
Yeah, a couple of things that were weird. But Notre Dame will take on Louisville. All you people down in Kentucky that want to say Lua, get out of here. Yeah. I got your luau. Go to Hawaii if you want to say Luauville. All right, 330-886-0813. Brian Driscoll coming up in a bit. Stick around. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts
boy is recovering from a broken
around our valley.
Community in Niles. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County Court.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. We jump into the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline where we find our Notre Dame guru, Brian Driscoll, to preview the Notre Dame game against Louisville. Brian, how are you today, sir?
Doing great. Just sitting there breaking down some film, figuring out how Notre Dame's going to stop this Louisville offense.
All right, before we start talking about the Cardinals, if you will, Notre Dame a little flat at the beginning, but they certainly turned it on, and they were able to knock off a severely depleted and undermanned and not really good Florida State team. How the mighty have fallen as Notre Dame was able to throw down 42 points on the Seminoles en route to the victory.
You know what's interesting is I actually thought this was the best game Florida State played all season, and Notre Dame still beat them. You know, it was only a 16-point game, but it was a convincing 16-point game. It was never a game where you felt like Florida State, boy, if they make a play here, play there, they might actually win, which to your point speaks to how far they've fallen. But you know, it was a sloppy game from the defense. I was disappointed with just the lack of execution at defense. I think there's some things that were exposed in this game, like, you know, the weak side runs and the play of the Buck linebackers, and you know, are things that I think you're going to see future opponents try to attack, and until Notre Dame stops it, because this is something that we saw last year and in past years when they play mobile quarterbacks. I think of Louisville having the same exact success last year in the opener with similar things for Notre Dame. So they're going to have to get that corrected, but you know, I came out of this game, we saw progress from Ian Book. I like that he was attacking downfield. And the run game for Notre Dame is still really, really good. And the offensive line dominated against what is actually a pretty good Florida State defensive line.
I was going to say Williams went off. He was averaging 6 yards a carry, wound up with a $174 on 29 carries, 2 touchdowns. And, you know, Brian, it was refreshing to see a guy get 29 carries in a ball game. And even though Williams is somewhat diminutive, 5'9", a $195, this kid can play. There's no two ways about that.
Oh, no question. And he's really playing at a high level right now. I think when you look at how he played against Florida State, for example, he averaged 9.7 yards per carry. And when you can do that on 19 carries, that's telling me that you're not just ripping off a big run or two. I mean, you're consistently just maximizing your yards. And the thing that impressed me from him, and then also from Chris Tyree, who also went for over 100 yards in the game, is there were 3 or 4 snaps where Florida State had a guy just in the hole, had him dead to right, and they were just able to make a miss. And when you've got that ability, you're going to be able to maximize your yards. And when you compare him to, you know, Notre Dame's last highly productive running back, you know, over the course of a full season, which was Josh Adams, obviously Dexter Williams missed a chunk of the 2018 season, but you look at Josh Adams back in 2017, Josh Adams was an incredibly explosive runner. I mean, he could any crease into a home run. But he wasn't really great at making guys miss. There were a lot of negative things that year, even though they had a great offensive line, because he couldn't make those. You know, that there's sometimes, Ron, you know this in football, you bring more guys into the box than you have blockers, and the running backs at some point in time got to make a play. And Josh Adams wasn't really the kind of back. Kyron Williams and Chris Tyree are really good at that, which only makes the offensive line play even more statistically impressive. Have a back that can you know, handle the guy that they're accounted for and make a play on it.
When you look at this game, I mean, Notre Dame started off pretty flat, but we kind of expected that with the time off. How impressed were you that the team was able to self-adjust on the fly so quickly, and they didn't turn it into a game where they were struggling all game? They really adjusted quickly and turned things on pretty quick when you think about all the things they went through.
And I got real nervous at the beginning when Kyron Williams on his first, I think it was the second, he fumbles the ball, he gets it, and gets down and scores, and you're thinking, I'm going to be one of those. Notre Dame took that next, went right down the field, and then they got the next drive, and they went right down the field. And they stuck with what their game was. And that showed me something about Tommy Rees, which was, yeah, you it didn't go well, and your running back fumbles will get upset and say, well, you know, but Notre Dame put him right back, and they went right back. And Kyron Williams rewarded with a 65-yard gain on the next drive. So, you know, patience. It showed me mature. It showed me that this team believes that we're going to be able to run the ball. And no matter who we're playing on the ball, no matter what circumstances is, we're going to run the ball. And I think that's the kind of identity it needs, and it really took over the game yesterday.
All right, so Notre Dame will be taking on 1-3 Louisville this weekend. Louisville 1-3, as we mentioned, but it's not that they don't have some good offense. Hawkins, their running back, got a $155 against Georgia Tech last weekend. Cunningham is one of those quarterbacks that he can be very effective as long as he's managing the game. He didn't throw any picks last week against Georgia Tech. They just lost because Louisville's defense was god-awful against Georgia Tech.
I mean, here's the thing you look at. Football's a game of matchups, right? And a lot of it's about how do you match up against certain. And as we talked earlier, Notre Dame has had a hard time with mobile quarterbacks. And Lee Cunningham, guy that's a mobile quarterback, and he's a junior that already has over 1,000 rushing yards, so he can run. He's not, like you said, he's not a guy that's team on his shoulder, will him to victory like a Deshaun Watson or a Lamar Jackson or Trevor, that kind of guy. But this guy can hurt you. And then when you combine him with Davion Hawkins, who, as you mentioned, he's 168 yards rushing, or he's number 3 in the nation in rushing. And last year, redshirt freshman, he was again in the top 100. He rushed for 100 yards. That's a really and scary 1-2 punch. And when you think about how they struggled to defend the run last week against a quarterback and running group that's not nearly as explosive and one they're going to face on Saturday, there's certainly cause for concern there.
When you look at the tape on Louisville, which I'm sure you have a lot this week, what are some things that you think Notre Dame can really expose? Especially, the defense, like Ron said, just not doing what they need to do on defense this year so far.
Well, that's going to be the big key. I think Notre Dame shut Louisville. They're going to get points. Does that mean they're going to score 4 Notre Dame? I'm not saying. Their offense is one. If it gets a shootout, they become dangerous. The key is a couple early on. Again, you're going to point, make some stops, but then you're to dominate if you're Notre Dame. You're playing, you said, bad. It was a bad since last year, and she regressed. So you're able to get out, get an early start. What happens is if you can jump off, and we saw it in Miami. Got up big on Louisville, and it took Davion Hawkins out of the game a little bit. They had to throw the ball. And, Ron, you talked about game manager, Malik Cunningham, game manager, and I'm complimentary manner, but when a game is full situation, has to throw more and make plays, then you're playing into the defense, and you're taking away ability to ball and grind the clocks. Notre Dame's offense is to really come out hot. They have to step on a little earth. They're going to have to gain some separation. If they do, it takes some of that off the Irish defense.
Our connection is not exactly the best in the world. I don't know if it's the cell or whatnot. And you were starting to crack up there for a little bit. But judging by what you were saying, Brian, it's Notre Dame has to get off to a hot start and not try to or not have Louisville in the ball game for a long period of time. If the secret recipe, if there is such a thing in this game, jump on Louisville, force them to throw the ball down the field and take Hawkins out of the game.
Exactly. Davion Hawkins can be an part of this game, and if every series is about they're going to be able to run their outside zone and different things that they do, control the clock, and be sort of just create those big play opportunities. Enough, he's going to rip one. He's just that kind of back. So it's all about forcing them to be more one-dimensional, either by shutting the run game down, which can be a challenge, or with your offense jumping all over them and putting them in situations where it doesn't benefit them to run the ball and put a 4 or 5 minute drive together. So I think the best friend of the Notre Dame defense this weekend is going to be Notre Dame offense.
Notre Dame is now 3-0, and again, they're the member of the ACC. 3 games in, still a ways to go. They Still have plenty of games left to be played before the end of a COVID-shortened season. Give us your critique 3 games in of Notre Dame on both sides of the ball as well as special teams, Brian.
Well, I think so far on defense, I think they've played defense. And I'm going to give the defense a little bit more of a pass for how they played against Florida State. When you look at the fact a big chunk of their quarterback depth chart wasn't practiced until Thursday, Friday before the game. When you look at the time they've had off, they've had Buck linebacker out. You had Myron Tungavaloa out. They haven't been able to really get into a rhythm. They struggled against Florida State. But they also played a Florida State team. You really didn't have a ton of film on what they were going to do with Travis as a quarterback because he only really passed football, as a quarterback. So there's a lot of improvement that needs to be made, but we still haven't seen this defense, and there has been one game where we've seen this defense with all 11 guys that they plan on having and really be able to tackle. And so they're still a work in progress, but I think so far that they've played well offensively. I think the run game has been great. I think the offensive line is playing at an incredibly high level. Pass game is still a question mark for me. And yes, they had success against Florida State, but Florida State's not a pass defense. They didn't quite have the numbers that other teams have had, but they're efficient and hit some big plays down the field. Notre Dame right now is 3-0, and that's great. They've beat teams that are combined 3-10, and 2 of those 3 wins came over FCS teams. And 2 Power 5 teams that Notre Dame has played, they were unimpressive when it comes to being able to dominate them. They beat Duke State by 2 touchdowns. And you're not able to get your younger guys in the game. You're not having that kind of dominance that I think you need to have against inferior opponents. And so we're going to learn a lot about Notre Dame these next 2 weeks with Louisville and Pitt. And Pitt coming where they're going to Pitt, and Louisville comes to town this weekend because these are better football teams. And Notre Dame's offense, especially the pass game, is going to have to wake up. And this is a great weekend to do it because you're playing the worst pass defense you're going to play.
Yeah, I was going to say, Brian, the schedule gets a little bit tougher from here on out. I mean, you have Louisville at South Bend. You go to Pittsburgh next Saturday to take on the Panthers. Georgia Tech has been a lot better than what I envisioned this team to be, and you got to go to the ATL to play them. Then Clemson comes to town. Boston College is a perfect trap game because you've got Clemson on one side prior to them. You've got North Carolina, who's been a beast this year, on the opposite side after Boston College, so that could be a trap game. The aforementioned North Carolina in North Carolina. Syracuse, and then you close out the season at Wake Forest. So from here to North Carolina, these next 6 games are going to tell an awful lot about where Notre Dame is in terms of the rest of the ACC, and are they going to finish in the top 2 in the ACC?
Yeah. Now, obviously, Miami losing to Clemson this weekend, but Notre Dame doesn't play Miami, so they don't give them a guaranteed second loss. So it's going to be a battle. I think you play different types of teams. Pitt has a defense, other teams have a defense, but this team is going to have to play better, and they've got now 3 games under their belt. They kind of got through the COVID situation, so everybody's going to be for the most part. So it's time to start really playing to the potential, and we're going to know if this team is capable of doing that by the time we get into Clemson, because none of the teams are great. Pitt's not great. Georgia Tech's not great, but they're at least going to test you to a degree, good enough. But this team has an improvement they got to make before they get to Clemson November 7th. And Boston College was a team that a lot of people thought would be a pushover game, but they're a good football team. I mean, they're 3-1 right now, and they were a 2-point conversion attempt with seconds left in the game from tying Carolina and sending that game to overtime. And that's a team that's got a lot of room for improvement. So it's going to be a battle. Notre Dame's going to have to earn their way into the ACC title game, and now they look to be the second best team in the ACC. But I would say the gap between them and Clemson is wider than the gap between them and North Carolina.
And what about some other games and storylines that you're looking at in the ACC this week around the conference?
Well, I mean, I think, I still, ACC as a whole, we don't know a lot about these teams. You North Carolina last week, and they've been playing well, but start to struggle. So Miami, is Miami good as they looked in their first? We're going to find out this weekend with Pitt, because their offense struggled last week against Clemson. It was really the first defense they played all year. Well, Pitt's got a pretty darn defense as well. So we're, out. North Carolina plays at Florida State. Boston College and Virginia Tech is a big one. That's one of those games where, Notre Dame fan, you want BC in that game because you want BC to be ranked when it plays them. Because if we're talking about resume building, Notre Dame, remember, gets Clemson, who's going to be ranked in the top 5. They got North Carolina, who even if they lose a game between now and then, it's still going to be a top 15 team. And if BC can go out and win some games, maybe be a 1 or 2 loss team, now they're going to be a top 25 team. And so if Notre Dame can pull off 3 November wins over ranked opponents, that's going to be a great way to kind of earn a bid to the playoff, even if you lost to Clemson. Let's say you split with Clemson. Let's say you beat them at home in the regular season, then lose them in the ACC title. If you've got those kind of wins piling up in November, and if you have a competitive against Clemson in the ACC title game, that's how you get an at-large. When you look at the Pac-12 is only going to play 6 games, it's only going to play 8. They're basically out of it right now. And the SEC, as we're seeing, looks like it's going to be beating each other up. So I think that those are the big game for me this weekend when I look at the Dame standpoint. If BC can go on the road, beat a ranked Virginia Tech team, and get to 4-1, that starts jumping them up in the polls.
Brian, before we let you go, a couple of things, and I want your opinion. I know you're an offensive-minded guy, and you were coaching in the offensive end of things. There's not been a lot of defense played, and especially in conferences where you think defense is key. And I'm looking right at the Southeastern Conference, and frankly, I'm looking right at the former head football coach at Youngstown State, who's been the defensive coordinator at LSU, and LSU's defense has been an absolute train wreck. Now, having said that, is there some credence to the fact of no practicing in the National Football League, at least, no preseason, and because of all of this, is it because the defense is struggling across the board, college and the pros, because of the lack of games and lack of practices leading up to the season, Brian?
You know, I think it's more about coaches not adjusting to the changed off season. I think that the coach situation is, to me, a bit of an excuse because football teams still had fall camp. They still had summer workouts. They still had exactly what they've always had. There is no, preseason games in college football. And some of these teams, for example, who struggle, this isn't a new thing. It's like Alabama all of a sudden started. What's happening is Alabama doesn't get their warm-up games to start the season that they have in the past. They don't play, Campbell and Duke and teams like that. They have to jump into ACC play or SEC play. And, they gave up 4 points to Ole Miss, moved pretty well on Florida, but this defense is just strong. It's just not as talented as it used to be. But we saw it from Alabama last year. Let's not forget, Alabama in their 2 losses last year gave up a combined an average 37 points per game. Also gave up 8 points last year to A&M, 31 last year to Ole Miss for a coach that got fired. So this is something that's trending with Bama here for a couple years now. Clemson's playing really good defense. Georgia's still playing really good defense. So I think have been really good on defense in recent years, are playing really well on defense. Teams putting more and more emphasis on offense in recent years, like Florida, like Alabama, are struggling to stop teams, and the Big 12 is doing exactly what they always do.
Brian, before we let you go, talk about what's going on at irishbreakdown.com.
Article out today that was interesting because, the pass game is really important for taking that next step as a program. And I think there's 5 things that I think they need to do against Louisville this weekend, 2 kind of big picture, and 3 specifically game, plan related here that I think is if Notre Dame's pass offense is on track this weekend, then I think there's legitimate reason for concern. So I talk about that, and then of course later today I'll have a lot more stuff about matchups, about what matters and what are the key statistical keys to the game and different things like that. It's going to be important for Notre Dame to come out and have success because they need a game run where they just to somebody that's actually, and I don't count South Florida, who lost by 20 to East Carolina again. They need to really go out there and just dominate the team that's somewhat on their level and really start getting this thing going.
All right, give me a prediction of Notre Dame and Louisville, 2:30 on Saturday afternoon. It'll be on the Peacock, NBC. Notre Dame taking on Louisville. Who do you got?
Right now, I got Notre Dame 44-27. You know, obviously, I'm still working through film and still working through the analysis, so I may change mine. Probably shouldn't, because I was a lot closer to prediction with you last week than I made my final prediction on my site. So I should probably stick with it, but I'm going 44-27 for now.
All right, I got 41-24. We're pretty much on the same wavelength. I got Notre Dame winning by 17, which I don't know how the odds makers do it, but Notre Dame's a 16.5-point favorite, so they clearly know what they're doing.
I'll go. Louisville lost 42-27 last week, so I'll say their offense does a little bit worse against a better defense than Georgia Tech. So I'll say 41-17 Notre Dame.
That would be nice.
If they hold Louisville to 17 points, that's a really good bounce-back week for Notre Dame's defense. Absolutely.
Agreed wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Brian, always a pleasure talking with you, and we'll catch up next Wednesday, brother.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
You got it. Brian Driscoll, he is our guy at South Bend, and you can definitely read his work, irishbreakdown.com.
The one thing I think they will do that Georgia Tech was able to do as well is turn Louisville over a couple times, which will slow down that offense. So I think maybe a couple red zone interceptions, maybe a couple fumbles down inside the 20. You know, Notre Dame's going to be a bend but don't break defense this week. I think they're going to give up yards to Louisville because they're good enough to get yards. But at the end of the day, when you get down to the red zone against Notre Dame's defense, I think it's going to be a lot tougher to score than it was even against Georgia Tech, who gave up 27 points.
I just want to see them take Javian Hawkins out of this game because this kid is really good.
Even if, like I said, you can give him his yards, just don't give him those big 60-yard touchdown runs. You know, make him do his work in the red zone when there's a lot less lot less field to guard, so you can really bottle him up in the red zone and not let him get in the end zone.
Well, the thing is, if Notre Dame can jump out to a 14-0 lead, and you're basically having Louisville now force the issue where they got to throw the ball down the field in order to get back into the game, now you've taken Hawkins completely out of the picture, and that's the perfect scenario for Notre Dame. You're going to have to be able to jump out to a quick lead, so that way Hawkins is neutralized in that you've jumped Louisville and taken a large lead, forcing Louisville to pass their way back into a game.
You're right, and Cunningham is not the gunslinger going to go score 38 points with his arm kind of guy. He's more of a, he succeeds kind of like, I know I'm going to, Lamar Jackson, in the way that you think he's the only way he can succeed is if he has the dual threat ability, and he won't have that if they're down by 17-0. He's kind of like that. I think Lamar Jackson is a lot more accurate in the air than you give him credit for. But Cunningham,
40%, 15 yards or more down the field.
This year. Last year it was 68. So Cunningham is more that guy that you envisioned in Lamar Jackson. He really needs the dual threat to be effective.
Yeah. Now, I misspoke with Kyron Williams.
And they both went to Louisville.
Yeah.
So, hey.
Well, there you go. I misspoke when I came to Williams. I was reading his season stats, not the stats that he had against Florida State. But Williams is averaging 6 yards a carry. Feed the beast.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. For the season, he's averaging 6 yards a carry. Feed the beast. Mm-hmm. Now, don't get me wrong. They also have a 1-2 combination, and that's kind of the equivalent of college football as to having a healthy Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Yeah. You're going to give both of them the ball, and you're just going to say, okay, which one do you want here?
To be kind, the Cardinals' run defense is
not good.
Not good. It's a black hole. It's
yeah.
They don't tackle well at the line of scrimmage. Their linebackers get run through consistently. So, hey, you know what? I think Notre Dame should be on the ground a lot today.
Yeah.
This week.
And like we said, I don't know how the odds makers do this, but they're freaking geniuses. There's a reason why there's huge buildings in Vegas and Atlantic City because the odds makers nailed this one. They're 16.5. It's about, if it's 17, you barely get Notre Dame if you have Notre Dame minus 16.5.
Quickly, and then we can get back to local before we take a break before Brian. But LSU, I want to throw Bo Pelini a little bone because let's remember that their defense was pretty much cannibalized by the NFL draft.
Oh God, absolutely.
Almost everyone on that defense went away, and so you're bringing new guys into the system, stepping up, and you had to deal with everything in the offseason. So. Yes, they're struggling. They shouldn't be struggling as much as they are. That's unexcusable. To lose to a Missouri team that's missing 18 players on their roster can't happen.
What?
But there's a little bit of reasons for their
Yeah. Now here's the other part of this. They do have an exhibition season. It's called their non-conference schedule. And when you're not playing a Power 5 conference team, which you should be in your non-conference schedule, okay. This is going to go completely against Youngstown State University because you always want our Penguins to play an FCS Power 5 conference. But if I were the benevolent dictator of Power 5 conference football, there's no way in hell I'm allowing an FCS team or a non-Power 5 conference team to have non-conference games against the Power 5.
Every team will have one.
Absolutely, they will.
Because
because
the smaller schools need the money.
Exactly.
So you need one. I mean, the NFL has a preseason. Let them have one. I would rather like the teams that schedule them late in the season. That boggles my mind. Like I'm gonna have like the Citadel in week right before my last game of the season. So sandwiched in between my third to last.
Well, you do that because you want to make sure it's not a trap game.
Right.
And you want to make sure your guys are healthy going into the Iron Bowl.
Usually that last game of the season, whether you're back in Alabama.
Yeah.
But for a lot of teams, it's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
So you kind of
I mean, let's be honest. It's the only teams that are doing this out of the SEC is Alabama and Auburn. They're scheduling FCS
Georgia
program.
plays Samford every last week of the season. So don't leave out the Dogs.
Hang on a
last
second.
season,
Hang on a second.
Before the Tech game last year, Georgia played Samford. I am pretty sure.
All right, because the beautiful thing about, and let me pimp this guy's product. This right here, the beautiful thing about Phil Steele is you got the last 5 years prior to Georgia Tech. Let's see, 2015 Georgia Southern, 2016 Louisiana Lafayette. 2017, they didn't have. They had an SEC game against Kentucky before Georgia Tech. 2018, Massachusetts. Last year, they had a SEC game before Georgia Tech, Texas A&M. So more often than not, Georgia's played grade A garbage prior to Georgia Tech. However, if we take a look at Alabama, listen to this ridiculousness of garbage. Charleston Southern, Chattanooga, Mercer, the Citadel, West Carolina. If that doesn't scream great college football, I don't know what does.
The Citadel played a good game against them. Remember that?
Yeah,
Remember at halftime it was like tied?
Yeah.
And we were like, because that triple option is an automatic talent equalizer.
Absolutely. Now, Auburn, they're just as guilty.
Right.
Idaho, Alabama A&M, the University of Louisiana at Monroe, not the Ragin' Cajuns, which is a much better program. Liberty, okay, they're okay this year, but they're not too good this in previous years. And Samford, which is an FCS program.
Yeah.
So Auburn's just as guilty as Alabama, but when you go in before a rivalry game in the SEC, when you don't have your non-conference games up here and then your straight conference the rest of the season, they allow that 1 week before the rivalry game where you can play a money grab game.
The real knock against Alabama is the fact that they never, ever, 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 ever travel for their non-conference games, even the ones that are in the Power 5. They always either have them in Tuscaloosa or it'll be a neutral site. I don't know. When was the last time Alabama played a regular season game against a non-SEC?
Hang on a second.
Like not even FBS team on the road.
Hang on a second.
Like I doubt it's been a while.
All right. Their money game, Wisconsin was neutral site, USC neutral site, Florida State neutral site, Louisville neutral site, Duke neutral site. Here's the other thing.
They don't go on the road to play out of conference.
Yeah, and here's the other thing of the SEC as a whole. After the second week in October, they do not go north of the Mason-Dixon line.
I don't blame them.
Well, and the only time that they did in the last 10 years, Auburn went to West Virginia and got their ass kicked.
Right.
Because it was a sleeting, disgusting cold in Morgantown, and those kids were like, what are we doing here?
What's this?
Yeah, what are we doing here? Now, on the flip side of things, the Big Ten does not venture south of the Mason-Dixon line after the second week of October, so it works both ways. I'd kind of like to see, and again, this is nirvana, this is a perfect world, I'd kind of like to see 2 weeks of the SEC and the Big Ten playing 2 weeks worth of a non-conference schedule. Third week in October, breaking away from conference play, the SEC schools, 7 of them, up against 7 Big Ten schools in their joint.
I want to do that one time just to prove that the SEC is better.
And then the first week of November, the Big Ten schools venture down into the South and take on the SEC boys.
Like, we've been knocking Alabama and all, but the SEC is just better than the Big Ten.
Well, absolutely, it is.
I would love to this one season just prove it, to have Kentucky go and
it's
beat.
proven every year when
Kentucky.
they play each other in bowl games.
I want not even neutral site. I just want, hey, you know what? We want to go. Let's prove it. Let's go to Illinois. Let's go to Purdue. Let's go to Wisconsin. Let's go to Michigan State, and we'll Kentucky's, Georgia's, Tennessee's. They'll probably beat all of them. So
I would love to see top to bottom in a 2-year home and home where you go first place versus first place, second versus second, all the way down, top 14, all the way down, and go, okay, our best bet against your best here, and then we'll return the favor and go to your place.
And I'd be more interested in the middle. Like, how are the middle teams?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think the middle of the SEC is a lot better than the middle of the
Tennessee taking on Northwestern, or Tennessee taking on give me a solid Big Ten team. Iowa. There you go. Tennessee taking on Iowa. You don't think that would be a lot of fun to watch? Oh my God, that would be awesome.
Tax Layer Bowl a couple years ago, Tennessee rolled them. So
yeah, well, again, that's the Southeastern Conference normally rolls the Big Ten when they play each other 3 times in bowl games.
It's usually even when you get to the top 4.
Wisconsin
can compete, Penn State can compete, Michigan can compete, Ohio State can compete. It's when you get below that, that's when it starts to, you kind of realize talent's a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get to the phone lines. Rich, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. What's going on, Rich?
Good afternoon, fellas. How are you?
What's up, brother?
Man, we got a beautiful day going out here, man.
Man, tell me about it. Beautiful autumn day in northeastern Ohio. It's gorgeous.
Amen. You got away with one last night, Mr. Potesta.
Well, look, I took the over because I knew that, with Milano out and then Tre'Davious White was out and a lot of injuries, and they're just not the same defensively without those 2 guys. And my concern was they should have put more points on the board. Unfortunately, Allen had one of those games.
I've been watching press conferences with the Cleveland Browns players and the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you what, Tony Grossi and Mary J. Cabot got to go.
Why?
Mary J. What do you think about the female coach? And these guys are like, this is a football talk. Yeah, she's awesome. She does her job. Next. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Now, there's when Mary Kay asks questions, and it's not because she's a woman, by the way. When she asks some questions, and I've covered the team for a couple of years. I'm not covering them this year. There are times when she asks a question where I just cringe and go, "What the hell are you thinking? Why would you ask that question?" Yeah,
what are you thinking is right.
Yeah, Tony Grossi, I have no problems with, and there's a lot of people that'll sit back and go, "Well, he's a curmudgeon." Look, Tony Grossi's forgotten more about the Browns than 99% of that fan base. And the other problem that I have is, and it goes back to our conversation last week, I'm so tired of these people that expect, well, you have to say good things about the organization. No, you don't. I mean, if the organization's garbage, how do you say good things about them? I don't want a cheerleader and a shill for my if I'm covering a team. I don't want my beat reporter to be a cheerleader and a shill. I want my beat reporter to be objective. And if your team's been a hot mess for the last 20 years, there's very little that you can say. Now, this year, they're off to a 4-1 start. Tony Grossi hasn't been incredibly insulting or critical of the Browns in their 4-1 start. Now, that you can honestly say, other than Indianapolis, who is this team play? Yeah, you can make a great argument about that because Dallas is not a good team. Cincinnati's not a very good team. Washington is a train wreck. So, yeah, you can make that argument. Now, that argument should have been somewhat put to bed when the Browns beat Indianapolis, albeit Indy was not completely healthy on defense, but still a win is a win. The argument really gets put to bed if Cleveland goes into Pittsburgh and beats the Steelers on Sunday.
That would be awesome. And also the questions that were asked on behalf of the defensive backs, who, by the way, everybody wants Zandeo's head. I'm like, I got news for you, man. We're thin there. You better be glad this guy's there. Yeah. Does he get smoked? Yeah. But he comes up with some big plays here and there. You know?
Yeah, he did force a fumble on Elliott a couple of weeks ago, and he's not as bad as the fans would say. He's not as good as some of the pundits would say.
You know, Ron, Pittsburgh got away with a really strong pass rush, mediocre linebackers, and a fairly weak defensive backfield for years. And guess what? It works.
Yeah. Well,
it works.
It works when you have an offense that scores points by the bucket load, and you know, Cleveland has been able to mask some defensive deficiencies because they're scoring points by the bucket load. The problem is on Sunday they're going to go up against a quarterback that has some really good weapons of his own, and you know, I mean, I'm not gonna give away the farm here, but if I were a betting person, and I'm not, but I just do picks for the hell of it. The over, and I don't care what the number is, the over in the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game is that's a money winner.
Well, it seems like the entire league is a money winner on the over because of lack of preparation and everything else going on.
Well, and again, that's going to be part of a long conversation because no preseason. I think that at some point in time, the defense is going to catch up.
Well, let's hope so. You know, okay, I got a poll question for you.
All right.
Who has the baddest game face in the modern era Major League starters? I'm going to give you mine. Oral Hershiser.
In terms of what? When things are going bad, or just overall?
No, just before he delivers the pitch, the look he gives, everything that he's taking in is phenomenal.
Okay, I'll give you Hershiser, and I'll raise you a Bob Gibson.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
Bob Gibson looks like he's ready to rip someone's head off, or looked, because he's passed away. Clemens isn't a bad one too.
Intimidation-wise, I mean, I do not want to be stared down by Mariano Rivera.
Amen.
Because he knows he's got 2 pitches, and he knows you can't hit it.
He knows you're not going to be able to hit his cutter, or at least get good wood on his cutter. So there you go.
Who was that kid who was a reliever for Boston in the heyday here, just a decade or so ago?
Papelbon. Yeah.
Oh, what a game face.
Yeah.
Lester's got a good one because he puts his glove under and he's like staring at you like this.
Yeah.
Lester.
It's steer a hole right through your bat.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, Rich, we got to get going, brother. All right, see you.
Thanks for the vine. I'll
you
catch
got
you
it,
later.
man. 330-886-0813. We got golf coming up. Hold on a second. Brian Tolnar is coming up next. We're going to talk some golf. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Back in the bets.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Insurance continues to be the area's resource for all your Medicare and retirement needs. Call today, 330-286-3044.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig, and we are joined by our golfing guru, the man who runs Mill Creek, the man with a plan. He is Brian Tolnar. Brian, how are you today, sir?
Doing great. Enjoying the 66 degrees and light wind and some sun, and gearing up for this weekend, even though it's going to be cold, but I think it's going to be busy.
Okay, let me ask you, because obviously the fall golf is a little bit different than golfing in the summertime, and obviously the temperature is one thing, but the leaves starting to fall from the trees and falling rapidly, I might add, which pretty much tells us we're going to have a crappy winter, but that's neither here nor there. How does one go about keeping the course pristine and leaf-free as golfers are once again taking advantage of gorgeous autumn weather in northeastern Ohio, whether it be the north course, the south course? You know there's plenty of trees, and you know those leaves are starting to fall. Is it all hands on deck with the grounds guys to make sure the leaves are out of there every minute of every day?
It's certainly a challenge in the region of the country that we live in, that's for sure, especially here in the Mahoning Valley. And it's a maintenance nightmare from that perspective until they're all completely on the ground. Unfortunately, here at Mill Creek, we've got a little bit more trees than most of the places do around the Mahoning Valley, so it takes a little bit more time, and it becomes definitely a little bit more tedious. However, our ground staff has a good handle on what's going on. Fortunately for us, this time frame and this time of the year, the grass doesn't grow as frequently as you would see in like the summer when you've got warm nights and good growing weather. So it sort of stunts the grass a little bit. So it can be an advantage to you in not having to cut, every single day and maybe every third day. So with that being said, it gives our maintenance crew an opportunity to be able to vacuum the leaves, pile the leaves, and blow the greens, the tees, and the fairways. What seems like for them, to be honest with you, from the moment that they get in and on site till they leave at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, days that it's not windy, place stays pretty clear. The days that it's windy from the moment you open the doors until it gets dark out when you're going home at the end of the day, certainly can be a challenge, and you're always fighting the leaves. But fortunately for us, it's a matter of less than 30 days when you have them all down, and it's just a matter of cleaning them up. But it's an ongoing challenge for not only here at Mill Creek, but everybody in this region of the country that has a lot of trees on their property. Us more so than others.
Well, a thunderstorm rolled in a couple of days ago, a couple of nights ago. It came in overnight. So just with every storm, I want to make sure that Mill Creek went through it unscathed and everything was fine down there. And I'm sure it was some much needed rain in a season that hasn't had a lot of rain.
Yeah, knock on wood. We've came through that storm pretty undamaged. Anytime that we get a storm like that, I'm used to coming in and seeing 2 or 3 trees down, and our maintenance staff's out cutting before they get an opportunity to go out and cut or blow leaves or work on whatever project they have set for the day. So it was nice to avoid that for once. However, we've lost a numerous amount of trees over the years. So many so that when you look out there, you almost can't even see that it's made a dent because we have so many of them on the property. But the rain certainly helped as we're trying to grow some grass on the shoulders of our new cart paths. We just hydro-seeded those. So, rain certainly helps them from one aspect, and the warm nights, is kind of what we've been lacking on and off here the past 2 or 3 weeks as we closed out September and headed into October. So, knock on wood, we'll be good to go, but I think our guys have a good jump on the maintenance techniques and the tendencies and stuff that we generally see here at Mill Creek in the fall.
Brian, let's talk a little bit about the golf game in the fall as opposed to the summer. Does the weather make a difference in terms of temperature when it comes to striking the ball and the distance of the ball? Does it go further in the hot summer rather than the cool fall?
It does. Believe it or not, when the temperatures are warmer. Obviously, when the ground's firmer, the ball will tend to run quite a bit further. But generally, when the temperatures, I want to say 50 degrees and above, the ball's going to have the tendency of running further. And about every 10 degrees is probably another 1 or 2% in distance. So I would imagine in the summertime you're going to hit the ball quite a bit further, not only carrying the ball further, but you're going to get more roll because the ground is a little bit more firm. And that's one of the deterrents in the spring and the fall is you have to really carry the ball far because you're not going to get too much roll. So, when we get the golf tip segment later on, that's going to be one of the things that we're going to help you with heading into the fall. But as a rule of thumb, the golf ball is going to fly a little bit less, so you may have to take a club or two more, knowing that that's going to be the case, knowing that it's not going to hit and roll out, and knowing that, you've got to carry it a little bit further. So that may be grabbing a 7-iron where you normally would hit an 8, or an 8-iron where you normally hit a 9-iron. So it definitely is something that the golfers have to maneuver their games around and think about when they're out playing and the conditions are soft and the ball's not flying quite as far in cool winds or just cool temperatures.
Brian, every week we like to get a local roundup from you, and I know golf tournaments in the high school level are in full swing. So what kind of things have you seen in the last week from the high school perspective?
Well, pretty much, I would say 90% of the district events are in as of, I want to say, yesterday. And locally here, we've got one player that had made it out as an individual, and that's Cardinal Mooney's Alyssa Rapp. She's played, this will be her third appearance at the state tournament as a golfer at Cardinal Mooney. So we're happy for her. She plays a lot of golf here at Mill Creek, and their team plays their home matches here. So we're excited to see her be able to compete for the third time at the state tournament. Not as lucky. The rest of the teams that we have here did not send a team or representative out, so it's going to be tough to garner a lot of people from our little chunk of the region in the OHSAA. But it's good to see somebody from here make it out because we have a number of teams that play here. The odds are, this facility is going to send a team or a player or two out. So we're happy for Alyssa and what she's been able to do over the past couple of years at Cardinal Mooney, not only at the high school match level, but being able to play well in these sectionals and districts and going down to the state tournament for her third time.
And if we go and take it to the college ranks, Youngstown State has a very nice men's and women's golf teams, and boy, there's local talent that would look good in a Penguins uniform. I'm just saying.
There certainly is, and they're so deep with the number of players that they have on their rosters. I know for the men's team with the Boardman High School team that went 3 or 4 years to state here, my first couple of years, I want to say about half of their roster is that nucleus of their teams that has gone down. So picking up those players, a couple of them transferring in. I know Akron had canceled their program earlier in the year, golf altogether, so they've had I want to say 1 or 2 transfers, and one was a local player, and it's nice to be able to see that on your roster. Girls too. I mean, they had Brittany Jonda from Boardman, who's playing locally as well. So they've done a very nice job of recruiting the local talent, pairing it with some international talent, because I know their coach Nate goes over to Thailand and recruits quite a few players from overseas. But it's nice to see them out practicing and playing. However, they're not in season with the COVID regulations and the shutdown. But they did get the thumbs up a couple weeks ago to start playing and practice again. So it's nice to see both teams out, the men's and women's teams, to just be out and practicing and on the putting green again, which is what we're used to when school gets back in session normally in August. So it's great that we are able to host a number of students and can basically get somebody in addition to their high school career to play here or junior golf career that plays here, whether it be making a high school team or making one of the 2 teams against Penn State.
Ryan Tolnar, our guest, he covers the PGA. We also talk Mill Creek. Now that we've talked all kinds of Mill Creek golf, let's go to the PGA Tour. The tour is going to stay out in Vegas. It is the CJ Cup at Shadow Creek. The tournament will be held at the Shadow Creek Golf Course in Las Vegas. We talked last week with the PGA Tour in Vegas. And, Brian, have you had an opportunity to golf at Shadow Creek?
You know what? I haven't played at Shadow Creek. That one's sort of an enigma to get on. That one's a little bit tighter, and I think it's like $500 or $600 a round, plus a card fee of like another $400 or $500. So it's very exclusive. It's a facility that we got to see for the very first time when Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson had the original match. That's where they ended up playing it. So it's been on television. Doesn't host very many events. It's very private. They have a tee time. I want to say either every hour or every other hour. So they're very limited on who gets to go out there and play. And if they did probably 40 rounds a day, I would be shocked because they want to keep it that exclusive. But this is one of those events, the CJ Cup, that we talked about a month ago. Originally it was in Seoul, Korea, and then they moved the event to China. And obviously with the COVID stuff, Shadow Creek was kind enough to jump in there and get into the mix. So it's nice to be able to see this tournament and have the players not travel overseas. Shadow Creek's one of probably the best golf courses out there. It's a par 72, measuring just a hair under 7,600 yards. And if you recall the back tees at our courses in the area here, locally, Avalon Lakes, if you played it all the way back from the 5 tees, I want to say is like 76, 61. So this is going to be, if you played Avalon Lakes way, way back, this will be a similar distance to what you're going to see the guys on tour play this week. However, the only difference in playing out there in Vegas is you're above altitude, so the golf ball is going probably 1 to 2, in some cases possibly 3 clubs longer with the elevation that you're going to see this week at Shadow Creek. So it's a very doable golf course. They're going to play for just under $10 million at $9.5 million. Probably one of the more premier invitational feature events, having 78 players. They take the top 60 from the FedEx Cup standings of a couple months ago when they finalized that. The KPGA Korean Tour and the Genesee champion from the Korean Tour also get in. Because this event was a South Korean-based event, they do let the Asian Tour have 3 or 4 players in the field as well. The World Merit from the Korean Tour is part of this as a way for the PGA Tour to sort of do an international feel. From that point, they'll take the next 3 available Korean Tour players in the official World Golf Rankings. There's 8 sponsors of exemptions for this event, 5 of which will be PGA Tour members. 1 will be a Korean amateur player, and then 2, the tournament itself gets the option to choose. So a lot of history in a short period of time, knowing that this is a relatively new event on the PGA Tour. Traditionally, it's played overseas. But they're, with the COVID, they're in Las Vegas, and it's a great segue from the tournament that we saw last week, and with the Shriners, coming into the north part of Las Vegas, but staying there as a whole. So it's, they were very cognizant on the players traveling, and to be able to keep them in the same vicinity for 2 weeks in a row reminds me a lot of when the PGA Tour really kicked back when it started, having the 2 tournaments down at Muirfield when we kicked off our season.
And when you look at the course, what kind of golf does it kind of lend itself to? Who do you think will have an advantage this weekend in the style of play?
Well, I think the Americans that have played there certainly have an advantage. Like I said, it's not too often that you get an opportunity to go there and play, even from PGA Tour standards. I think, being that I only have seen the golf course on television and, looking at it briefly through a scorecard online, I think it lends itself, from what I recall from, the Tiger Phil match, very high risk, high reward, where you can go for some par 5s and 2. You can go for a par 4 and 1, driving it off the tee. And if you're accurate, you can make a birdie or an eagle, very, very easy. But if you drive it offline, you can go down a cliff, you can go down off the golf course and present yourself with a double bogey or higher. So I think the players that are more conservative off the tee and hit a lot of fairways certainly are going to have a lot of advantage this week, being able to keep it in play, to give themselves some good looks at birdies on all 18 holes. And I think the guys that like to overpower the golf course and take on more risk, I certainly think that they can shoot, a really low round and shoot some really good numbers, but they have to be cognizant of making that big number to derail their chances each and every round and on the holes that you take your risks. So I think accuracy off the tee, I think, is going to lead our picks this week, based on, making sure that you have to position yourself off the tee. The rough is very, very low and lean, much like it was last week at Summerlin, so I think you're going to see more of that. However, you're going to see the golf course being a lot more green than you saw, just a 30-minute drive away from where they played at Sunderland compared to where they're playing at Shadow Creek this week, just on how the golf course is built and set up.
Brian, there's 78 players in this tournament. Is there a cut after 2 rounds, or are these guys guaranteed to win some money?
These guys are guaranteed to win some money. Being any of the events that are usually 100 players or less, that are sort of that invitational field, they'll let the guys play all 4 rounds of golf. So it's going to be interesting to see who gets out to that early advantage, knowing that you could basically run it like a marathon and pace yourself each day and still have an opportunity where you're not hard pressed to make that cut.
And now let's segue right into your Power 5. Who you got this week?
Well, this week you're going to see some traditional names and a couple names that you're probably going to think, why is he picking those guys? At first, Brooks Koepka, obviously he's a leader to setting a tournament record at this event, albeit not at this facility, at 21 under par. I don't think you're going to see 21 under par this week. I think you're probably going to see something in that 13, 14, 15, 16 under range, just because there are holes that play a little bit tougher, and the risk and reward of what you're going to shoot each week is going to be tougher. I think Brooks obviously hasn't played well, for a couple weeks or a couple months on the PGA Tour. I think he bounces back this week. He finds himself to be at home and starts hitting a lot of fairways and hitting greens and start making the putts that we normally see Brooks Koepka knock down when it's at a major championship or a premier event. I think a lot of the guys in this field, knowing that there's only 78 players to beat, certainly have to make sure that their game is elevated. Obviously you have less than half a normal field in golf. You still have to play well, and you still have to hit a lot of fairways and make some putts. And I think, Brooks Koepka always has played well in tournaments that have really good fields. I think he takes, 25 or 30 players out of the mix, just by putting his name on the entry sheet. And I think if you do that, you've got 48 players left that he has to beat. So I think he's going to be in the driver's seat if he plays well and putts like he normally does, knowing what stakes are on the table here at this invitational type event. Number 2 is Ricky Fowler. I know he hasn't played well as late either. He showed some signs of life the last couple events. However, he's a player that drives the ball very accurately off the tee. And I think if he can do that and make the putts that Ricky makes from 5 feet and in, 10 feet and in, I think he's going to be a formidable name at the end of the week. I think he's playing well enough to get in that winner's circle. And I think it would be a great win for him in this part of his career as he's, hitting the back half of it. Number 3 is Rory Mcilroy, another one of those guys. And if you look at, him and Ricky, that we just put in at 2, both guys that when they're playing extremely well, they hit a ton of fairways, probably about 80 to 85% of the fairways. Roy's starting to hit fairways again. He's starting to look like the player we normally see. I think with his iron game, he can attack a lot of the pins there, and he can put himself in good position. So I think he's going to have a number of iron shots out of really good lies in the fairway, so I put him at 3 this week. Number 4, Bubba Watson. And I put him in there because he's different than the first 3 players that we talked about. He's the guy that's creative, that makes the shots, will play some high-risk, high-reward shots. If you recall back to when he played well in the Tournament of Champions in Hawaii, hitting that driver off the deck of the 18th hole, I think he's willing to take on some risks. And I think he's got a game where if he has a facility that's built, for his game being left-handed, I think it's a good setup for him. I think he's going to be in the mix this week. And number 5 is another guy that always plays well in these big events and majors and World Golf Championships. That's Tommy Sweetwood. He's played a number of events overseas since having been on the PGA Tour the past couple months. I think he brings the game that he's played well the last 2 or 3 events back to the United States, and I think he plays well in Vegas this week to round out our top 5.
And I had a guy circled, and I thought it was going to be a really good pick, but he didn't land in your Power 5, so you're making me nervous, Brian. I'm going to pick John Rahm this weekend. Is there a reason that you didn't think he'd be in a Power 5 kind of situation?
Well, I just think that he's had some struggles as of late, but he reminds me a lot of Bubba. He can really overpower a golf course. He can make a lot of putts in a weeks-long event. I certainly think he's a name to watch, as well as like a Matt Kuchar and a Corey Connors and a Shane Lowry from overseas. I think guys like that have enough distance off the tee, that hit a lot of fairways, are going to give themselves the biggest amount of opportunities. It'd be nice to see John Rahm win this week. There's no doubt about it.
You mentioned Rory Mcilroy. Here's an interesting statistic. Rory Mcilroy has recently become a father, and I think one of the reasons why his game might have struggled is because you're worried about whether or not your spouse or the mother of your child is going to be okay, and you're never really focused until your wife or mother of your child gives birth. Well, in the 2 starts since he has become a father, 2 top 10 finishes. So that's a solid pick. But I'm going to go with Matthew Wolff. Here's another interesting statistic. At the TPC Summerlin, where the last tournament that he played in, he had 65 shots inside of 10 feet using his putter, nailed 64 of them. I mean, this guy is hitting the ball tee to green, and then his putting inside 10 feet is about as perfect as you're going to get. I like Matthew Wolff's chances. Now, this is coming from the same person that said that a Vegas-known born and raised kid would do well, and he wound up getting cut after 2 rounds. So take whatever I say with a grain of salt. I'm just saying.
It's okay, Ron. My pick got cut after 2 rounds too. So.
Well, and Jason Kokrak got cut after 2 rounds. So we all kind of crapped on ourselves last week.
I think what happens is you still have to put Las Vegas in the equation.
Absolutely.
As it was last week, and those players are just as human as we are. So I'm sure they're not gambling and hooting and hollering and having fun. So I mean, you definitely have to throw that in the equation anytime that you're hosting an event or a tour event in Las Vegas. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no question, and obviously the temptation, and we'll just leave it at that. When you're playing in Vegas and you have your morning round or even an afternoon round, you're off the golf course by the time you can go on to the Strip and have all kinds of fun in Sin City. That kind of makes things really, really tough for a professional golfer to think about golfing 4 rounds when you have this adult playground that's so close to you, where you can go and drop a couple grand playing some casino games or going to the sports book and dropping or earning a couple of grand, if you will. It's a tough temptation.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, and I guarantee you that plays into the factor of shooting well this week. It's the great equalizer. Fabulous Las Vegas and the Strip. There's no doubt about it.
All right, before we let you go, it is the portion of the program that we are all looking forward to. We all want to try to improve our golf game, none more than me. Give us your weekly tip, Mr. Bryan.
This week's tip is going to talk a little bit about distance. I think, as a golf professional, given golf lessons since many, many moons ago, one of the things that will always seem to be asked on the lesson tee is, boy, I'd really like to hit it a little bit farther. Boy, I'd like to hit my tee shots farther. How can I get engaged a little bit more distance? And one of the ways that we can do that is with this golf tip this week. It's called, basically, from a setup standpoint with your driver, we're going to basically open our back foot line. So if you're a right-handed golfer, it's going to be your right foot. If you're a left-handed golfer, it's going to be your left foot. So what I want you to think about is this. As we stand, just standing naturally as a human being, with your feet spread shoulders width apart, your feet sort of point directly towards where what direction you're headed. So we want to make sure that we make a big turn, and a big turn equals more flexibility. In turn, it gives us a little bit more distance. So the wider our turn, the wider the width of our swing, the more distance we're going to be able to hit the ball. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make our feet go a little bit outside shoulders width, because the club we're talking about is going to be the tee shot or the driver. So you're going to be outside shoulders width like you would be with a normal tee shot, on any round that you play. The one caveat is that back foot, we're going to open the toe line. So we want the toe to be pointed sort of a little bit to the right, maybe an inch or two open compared to the front foot line. So your front foot is kind of squared off and your back foot is open, kind of pointing a little bit away from where your target line is. And what this is going to allow us to do by just a simple movement of an inch or two of that back foot toe line is it's going to allow us to make a bigger rotation. It's going to allow our hips and our shoulders to turn more. It's going to allow our front knee to get closer towards our back knee as we rotate. And that's where we're going to gain a lot of power, a lot of width on our golf swing to be able to create a lot of leverage on the way down, which will help us increase a lot of the club head speed. I tell everybody, if you're standing there, throwing a football and you just use your hand without your arm moving, you can only throw that football 5 or 10 feet. Now, if you use your arm and your hand without your body, you could throw it probably 25 feet or 25 yards. But if we use our core, which is our shoulders and our weight rotating back to front with our arm and our hand, we can launch that football, 50 yards or however far you can throw it. Same theory applies, with the golf swing. The more that we're able to create flexibility in turn, and I tell everybody that wants to engage in more distance, as we turn, we want to try to make sure on a driver that we get our back to the target. If we can do that, we're putting a lot of pressure on our back leg, our back knee, our back hip. Therefore, we're winding up. It's kind of like a rubber band. The more that we pull the rubber band, the more that we can wind it up, and the farther we can fling it. Same thing with the golf ball. The more that we can get wound up, the more that our hips rotate, the more that our shoulders rotate, it's going to allow you to be able to hit the ball a lot further on the downswing. The perfect example is, Tiger Woods, when he came out on the PGA Tour in the mid to late 90s, he could always go to where the commentators would go. He could just take it up to that next level and hit it another 30 yards further. And one of the things with him was how his body rotated. And that's one of the things that we can implement into our swing. The more rotation, the more flexibility, the further we are going to be able to hit the golf ball. And what Kyron was good at back then is he would have slight movement in his hips and his shoulders and his back would get to the target. But if he wanted to really turn it up a notch and hit it another 30, 40, 50 yards, he would get that left pocket from a right-handed golfer's perspective way back behind the ball to where he's almost, the back is going a little bit further than parallel to the target. And that's where he gained all of his power. So this is similar to what we're trying to do. You want to do it in moderation. Obviously, you're doing a backswing, you know where you take it on a practice swing. By having that back toe line open, it's going to give you probably another 3 to 4 inches of your shoulders being able to rotate and your hips to be able to rotate back. From there, you just make your normal golf swing, and I guarantee you're going to pick up 10 or 15 extra yards off the tee.
Now, Brian, obviously that's off the tee, but what about when you're in the middle of the fairway, or in some golfers' case, off the fairway? How do you go about getting the distance in terms of using a fairway club?
Same theory applies with all the clubs in the bag. However, the timing gets to be a little bit tougher, and that's where a little practice comes in. You can still use that drill. The timing is just more inundated in trying to get back down to that golf ball for that crisp shot. But the same theory, the more that your body rotates, the more that your hips, the more that your shoulders turn, the more distance and the more width you're creating on your golf swing, the more width and the wider width of it, the more distance that you're going to hit.
Is that something that the occasional golfer or the active golfer, now that we're into the fall, is that something that golfers should be doing, especially in the fall, to compensate the lack of distance that they normally get in, as opposed to playing in the summer?
it's certainly one thing that you can do. Now, the only thing that you have going against you in the fall is often when you're going out to play in the fall, it's a lot colder, so you're a lot more bundled up. So you have to be cognizant of that too. I mean, the clothing that you select, you're definitely not going to want to come out in that heavy sweatshirt. You want to get something that's thermal, lightweight underneath, that's going to keep the body heat in, but still not limit your flexibility. It may be a wind shirt that has the arms cut off at the elbows, the Haas windbreaker. Anything like that. If you look at the guys on the PGA Tour when they're playing and it's cold, it's a stocking cap, but they're still pretty lean in what they're wearing from a fitness standpoint. And that's why you see a lot of the clothing in today's market for the golfer being a lot more thin, being a lot more climate controlled, whether it be to keep the cool in or the heat in. There's certain types of materials that do both of that and can be to your advantage when you're still trying to maintain that flexibility.
And this is probably the perfect segment to talk about your pro shop because you sell that stuff.
Absolutely. The equipment and the golf ball and the clothing, whether it's got SPF 50 in it to keep you protected from the sun, or it's built, from a climate standpoint to keep you warm, but limit the amount of layers that you're putting on to maintain your flexibility, certainly are variables of being able to play successfully when the conditions aren't summer like what we're used to seeing, and in fall golf and spring golf, you have to have some of the equipment and the clothing to bear some of the elements, and there's no doubt about it. We're definitely a good place for that, but it means a lot.
Anthony's looking at me like, "Damn, you've become a salesperson, Ron."
What a plug! What a plug!
He teed it right up for me.
Hey, listen, I teed it up, and you shot it right down the middle of the fairway, as always. Brian, good stuff, and we look forward to catching up with you. And I spoke with my dad. He's and I'm not afraid to say he's 87 years of age. He plays golf every Tuesday, and I looked at him and I said, "Have you played at Mill Creek yet this year?" And he goes, "I haven't played at Mill Creek yet." I said, "Nope, we're getting you on the course." So
there you go.
At some point. Very soon, the old man and I will play a round of golf on the north or the south course, and we'll have a good time with it.
You know where to find us. Come on down. You're always welcome.
I appreciate it. Brian, as always, a wonderful, wonderful segment, and I feel like my golf game has improved week after week listening to all these tips. I'm going to incorporate all of them.
It's been a lot of fun. There's no doubt about it. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Anthony.
You are so very welcome. Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek joining us every Wednesday in the 1 o'clock hour. And you're looking at me like, man, that was a perfect setup, Ed.
Yeah, what a plug.
Wow, seriously, he's got it. Have you ever seen his pro shop? Holy crap, is his pro shop phenomenal.
And the people that run the pro shop are very good, do very good customer service, and they do a great job down there. All facets of running a golf clubhouse.
No doubt. And here's
restaurant's great, pro shop's great, the course is great, driving range is great, lessons are great. I mean,
and here's the thing: Christmas is coming up for you folks that are Jewish. Hanukkah's coming up. Let's be honest. If you got someone that's a golfer, or you have someone that wants to pick up the game, let's see, they got clubs that you can purchase, and they got clubs you can customize for the person. I mean, now naturally you're going to have to, if you want to keep it a secret, you're going to have to pretty much tell them the height and whatnot. So you're going to have to ask some questions without giving away the secret sauce. There's all kinds of other things that they sell. They sell the wear for the fall and whatnot. They sell the good stuff. So man, that pro shop is it's phenomenal. Every time I've gone to Mill Creek, you can't help but look at the pro shop because you got to go through the pro shop in order to pay for your round of golf. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, and they do sell clubs, and you got to be careful when you're buying clubs because my dad, I'll never forget this. He wasn't at Mill Creek, but he went to a pro shop at one of the clubhouses, and he's looking at clubs, and he pulls one out of the bag. And it hits the ceiling fan that they have above the counter.
No!
Oh, you bought it now.
Well, it is what it is. That's the one thing you got to stop.
Did you break the rule though? You said your father's age. I thought that was a big no-no.
Well, he doesn't listen.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, his friends listen, so I might be getting an ass kicking.
You're gonna.
Well, I mean, look. I mean, it's I'm saying it proudly. The guy, respect. The guy's 87 and he's golfing every Tuesday. He actually golfs 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, I hope and pray that, first of all, I hope and pray that I am 87 before it's all said and done.
There first.
Yeah, I mean, that's I still got 31 years, and a lot of stuff can happen in the next 31 years. Let's be honest. But even if I am 87, let's hope and pray I can play golf.
87 is great because the global human lifespan average is still 76, so 87 is 11 above that.
Oh,
so.
Absolutely.
Way to go.
Absolutely. So, he's playing golf 2 or 3 times a week in the summertime. Now, this was his last Tuesday golfing, and he went to where'd he go? He went to Reserve Run this past Tuesday, and he was just talking about how incredible that whole area is. Well, he hasn't gone to Mill Creek yet this year, so I gotta take him on the course, and obviously he'll kill me on the course.
You better hurry. The weather is turning real fast.
Absolutely. We got to do this. When the weather is still pretty much in the realm of decent.
It's Ohio. You could turn around and all of a sudden we're looking at 30-degree weather in one day, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a great segue into what the rest of the week is going to be like, and even though we're probably into the in a normal circumstance, the tail end of the high school football season, where we would be week 7, week 8, somewhere in that vicinity. Now we're in the postseason now. It's going to be 59 on Saturday with a low of 43. That's going to be Saturday night. Friday night it's going to be a low of 34. So it's going to have a feel.
Weather.
Yeah, it's going to have a feel of postseason.
I hope someone gets we have great photographers. I don't know if they can catch this but one of the great images in football is the breath coming out of the line.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, definitely. No 2 ways about that. I might have to get the old man on the course next week because it's supposed to be 68 on Tuesday, 70 on Wednesday. So if we get on the course early morning, I'd take care of my dog before anything else. Make sure Buster's fed and whatever. And then I go to the course, and I think we can do that. But play 9 holes, and then but when the 9 holes is done, get in the car, drive to Palestine, and do running point.
I like that.
I think we can do this.
Let's do it.
Prior to Wednesday, I think we can do this. I think I'm going to call Brian up and say, shoot me down for an 8:30 tee time, and we'll play 9 holes and be out of there by 11, long before 11, and I'll be able to drive down to East Palestine.
I'll tell you another thing. Next summer when COVID's gone, hopefully, we need to do a running point live from Mill Creek.
Oh, there's no 2 ways about that. No 2 ways about that. Next year, I would love to have our Wednesday shows from Mill Creek.
Yeah,
I think that would be phenomenal. At least once a month.
What a backdrop.
Yeah. Oh God, phenomenal. Just outside, where in front of the restaurant, in front of the pro shop and everything. Oh God, it would be phenomenal.
Did you get a chance to look up in the sky last night at all?
No, I was too busy watching my team get their ass kicked.
It was a clear sky, and Mars was closer than it's going to be for the next 15 years. So I know when I came home from my game, I looked up for a minute, and it's just one of those moments when you can see Mars very clearly in the sky. It's just
which direction?
East. It's in the east sky.
Okay.
So it won't be this close again until 2035. So.
No, I mean, is it after last night, or do we continue this tonight?
I think it'll still be there tonight. I don't know how clear the skies will be tonight, but they were pretty clear last night. It was fun to look at.
We don't get as much activity as if you go into the Southwest, where if you're closer to the desert and the skies are spooky out there.
Yeah.
Crazy. There's a reason why.
There's no clouds.
Well, there's a reason why UFOs were always spotted in New Mexico and whatnot. That area is spooky.
When you have no clouds and then you have no urban lights, the sky's going to light up.
Yeah. Northern lights, as it were.
Northern lights are way up north.
You don't see them there, but
you don't want to see those in New Mexico. No. There's a serious problem.
Exactly. But if you get up in, say, the Vancouver area,
you can start seeing
away from the city. and you go up there and you're in some remote area, you can see all kinds of stuff. But like I said, in the Southwest, and I've gone.
I'm sorry, that's not worth the cold.
No. That's
some people are like, hey, let's go to Alaska. I'm like, let's not.
Let's not. I'll go to Alaska in June and July.
It's very fun to look at, and I'll leave the nature photographers that job, and I can just look at their work.
I'll go up in the summertime.
Even in the summer, it's like 60.
No, that's all right. I'll take that.
No.
I'll gladly take that in the summertime. You will not see me anywhere near Nebraska after September 1. That is not going to fly in this.
The thing is that it's prettiest in the winter, so that's when you got to go.
Yeah,
but I'm not doing it.
I'll deal with the photographers who take a picture of the polar bears on top of an iceberg, and just searching for salmon and whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I'll let those guys do that stuff. That's not my bag of tea. I woke up this morning and what was it, in the low 40s, and I wasn't feeling all that great yesterday to begin with, because the weather, and then again, this is coming from a person who's now 56. I'm starting to feel when the weather gets cold. Now I'm starting to feel the aches, the pains, and all that other BS that goes along with cold weather. And it wasn't that way for a long time. Now, recently, in the last year or two, I'm like, oh, now I know why old people go down to Florida. And south in the wintertime to get away from the cold. Now I know why.
Now I know why they call Florida God's waiting room.
That's a first.
What it is.
Okay, well, yeah, that's actually it is true. That's very, very true. So yeah, that's yikes. All right, well,
every time you move, your bone cracks, and then you're
what's the old joke? You're in some pain when you hear snap, crackle, and pop, and you haven't dropped the milk on the cereal yet.
Right.
So there you go. All right, 330-886-0813. Back in a bit. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online,
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
on social media, and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. The MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline open for business, 330-886-0813. John Vargo will be coming up in about 13 minutes. We made mention, last night's, obviously, all kudos to the Titans for picking up a victory, and kudos to the Atlanta Braves for beating the Dodgers. It was not a good night. Truth be told, let me ask you, because you're a pretty good baseball fan. How much of the division series have you watched with Tampa Bay, Houston in the American League? Actually, the championship series. My bad. Tampa Bay and Houston in the American League, Braves and Dodgers in the National League.
Honestly, I haven't sat down and watched the games.
I haven't seen one out at all.
The last time I watched baseball was when we had it up here in Game 5 of the Yankees-Rays series.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't like baseball or I don't like watching it. It's just there's other things that are taking my attention. So it's like when you're competing against the NFL, college football, for until a couple of days ago, the NBA and things like that.
In my case, it's been tough
I check
because
the scores. I keep up to date on what's going on.
Yeah.
But as far as like putting it on the TV and sitting and watching, it's just not there.
In my case, it's been.
I'll probably
I don't have
for the
time.
World Series. I'll watch some of the World Series.
Oh, I'm definitely going to watch the World Series.
And it doesn't help that these series aren't really competitive right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this as a diehard baseball fan, it's a little surprising, and I'm sure it's a lot surprising. Well, all the times I talk about baseball, the reality is I'm too busy sleeping because there's other things that I'm doing in my life. Well, that in and of itself is going to go away, but the bigger issue for me is last night. Okay, I love the Dodgers. Now they're not my team. I'm an Indians fan. The reason why I follow the Dodgers is because that was the first team that I broadcast games for in terms of the organization. And I have a Dodgers jersey, and I'm not gaga over the Dodgers, but I'll watch them. Not when they're going up against a team that I genuinely am a diehard fan of. That's just not going to happen. Now, what would have been interesting last night is if the Indians were in the ALCS and they're playing against my beloved Bills, I have to have two TVs.
Oh, yeah.
that's and you go cross-eyed looking at both of them, but I would have to have 2 TVs at that point. That's just.
Well, what I do in that situation, and it comes up a lot, especially in the tournament time for basketball and baseball, softball. You just get your laptop, your iPad, and your TV. You put the most important game on your TV, and then you keep the other 2 screens up that you can check in on stuff. Because when you got more than one game going on at once, I gotta watch them all.
Well, now here's the issue: which one's more important, and how can you sit back and say, okay, what am I going to prioritize here
during those things? I mean, unless Georgia Tech is playing, which they haven't been in the tournament in a while. I don't have a rooting interest in the tournament per se. I'm just picking the brackets. So I could go with, hey, okay, let's say I pick a 14 beating a 3. I'm going to watch that game on my TV because I really want that game to be competitive and be whatever. Then I might say, iPad, the least important game because it's the smallest screen, 1 versus 16. I'm not really going to be too involved in that. Computer might be the 9-8 matchup, something like that.
Yeah.
You just kind of pick and choose based on.
Let me go a little closer. Let me go a little closer to you and a little closer to your heart. Okay, and it wasn't that long ago. Kansas City won a World Series.
Right.
So we're going to go back 5 years. Kansas City won their 2015 World Series. Okay, so let's say we're fast forwarding into 2021. The Royals somehow, some way get into the postseason. And here we are in the ALCS, and they're playing on a Monday night, but the Kansas City Chiefs are playing on a Monday night against the Las Vegas Raiders or the Broncos
that happened
or the
in
Chargers.
2015. There was a Monday night game.
Okay,
the Royals played too.
Okay, so what do? Are you putting the Royals on the main screen? Because you got to.
Because it's postseason.
It's postseason against regular season.
But
there you go.
Better believe I'm taping that Chiefs game, staying away from social media, and I'm watching it the next morning.
So you're not watching both of them?
No, not on once. I don't want to divide my attention. If it's a World Series game, I want to be World Series locked in. I mean, but if
it's an LCS game,
it's postseason. Royals,
it's postseason.
It doesn't happen. I mean,
damn.
Like that.
I mean, thank God the Indians did not make the LCS and weren't playing.
Well, come on, you would have been
Tuesday.
more interested in the ALCS than the Bills' regular season Week 4 game, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if I would have been able to sit back and just say what you just said.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's any way that I could have sat back and said, okay, I'm going to DVR the Bills game,
right?
And I'm not going to pay any attention to anybody. First of all, let's be honest. This is not 1980. Where the United States hockey team was on a tape delay, and you could pretty much, except for my case, thanks a lot, Billy Jackson, but neither here nor there. In today's world, you are not able to completely separate yourself and not have that surprise factor.
It is extremely hard. And I know from last Friday, Georgia Tech played on Friday night.
Yeah.
I was here doing the Audible call.
Okay.
Stayed away from social media all night. Get home from Audible call. I'm not going to watch it at midnight because then
you were able to watch the game without knowing the outcome.
I did. I watched that whole game on. I divided it between Saturday morning before I left for my volleyball match, and then Saturday afternoon. And by Saturday evening, I watched that game. Didn't know the score. Didn't know what happened.
So that means you got to stay away from social media.
Stayed away from social media.
And you got to stay away from the Georgia Tech websites and all that other stuff.
Because the only thing I did was YSN social media, which doesn't follow all the Georgia Tech stuff. So I'm clean with that. So,
I mean, could you? I don't think I could get away with that. And with no disrespect to Georgia Tech, it's nowhere near East Palestine, Youngstown, and all points in the Mahoning Valley. It's nowhere near that.
Right.
So let's take this in perspective and say you're a Buckeye fan.
People know I'm a Georgia Tech fan, so if I'm out and people know me,
they're
like,
gonna, yeah, there you go. There you go. It'll be the same thing with me, but everyone would look. Man, your Bills looked good last night. How about I just beat the snot out of you right now? Because
how about the first game of the Chiefs season? I can't watch it live because I'm at a volleyball match.
Yeah.
And I'm begging our guys on the YSN group chat, guys, do not text the score because I have to look at my text messages in case it's something from Brian.
Exactly.
Telling me that there's something wrong with my broadcast.
Exactly.
And, much respect. They stayed away from it. They didn't do anything. Thank you to the YSN group chat for being respectful.
Except for the fans?
But I did not know the outcome of that game when I started it. It was probably in halftime by the time I got home and started it. In the Texans game.
Yeah.
So, you got to dodge stuff, and it was a lot easier back when there wasn't social media.
Oh, it was much easier when you didn't have social media, but you still had a VHS or a beta.
The VCR, you could just tape.
Yeah, you just dated myself with the beta reference, but again with a VHS, a beta, whichever one you chose, it was a whole lot easier prior to Facebook, Twitter, the whole 9 yards. I tell this story an awful lot. In the 1980 United States men's hockey team that made their gold medal run, the semifinals were tape delayed. Mainly because ABC did not want to air the Soviet Union beating the living crap out of the United States in the semifinals because we already were in a really bad place. We're in a Cold War. The morale, I should say, of this country was at its all-time low.
If they would have done that
then.
in the United States in Lake Placid too, that would have just been worse.
Yeah, it just would have been horrible. So they tape delayed it. Then they aired it at 8 o'clock at night. The game started at 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the afternoon. So my plan was go home, not even open up the television, don't even get a radio on, nothing. I am going to be dead silent. I'm off the grid until 8 o'clock. That way I am perfectly safe, and I am not going to know who won this game.
Did America Media do a good job of not releasing who won before the...
Oh, it was phenomenal. Now, again...
That makes Al Michaels' call that much better.
Again, the problem with all of this is, or the advantage they all had was, there was no social media.
Right.
And the newscasters at that time, phenomenal. I remember... my father was working because it was on a Friday night. My father was working at the pharmacy in Washingtonville, and he was there till 9 at night. And when he got home, he had said, "Hey, I've heard it was 2-2 at the end of the second period." Okay, no big deal. Unfortunately, and I got to backtrack a little bit.
But that's not confirmable either, so that's okay. Like if someone says, "I think it's..."
No, it was confirmable as it turns out because. Okay. Somebody leaked the story late in the afternoon, or not late in the afternoon, early in the evening prior to 8 o'clock. Okay, so here I am, and it was easier said than done. You go home, you're not watching TV, you're not answering your phone, you're not doing anything. I'm like, okay, I'm off the grid. So I don't know, about 5 minutes before 8 o'clock, I get a phone call. Now, I didn't answer the phone. My mom answered the phone. So my mom answers the phone, and she goes, "Ron, your phone's for you." I'm like, "Who is it?" She goes, "Well, it's Billy Jackson." Billy and I have been friends since the day I moved to Leetonia. And I'm thinking to myself, do I really want to answer this call? Do I really want it? Because he's calling for a reason. Do I really want to answer the call? And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll answer the call because he wouldn't be stupid enough to do something like this. There's no way he could be. Well, no disrespect, you were stupid, Billy Jackson. He's like, "We beat the Rooskies." I'm like,
"Oh,
son of a bitch. Are you serious with this? Come on." So I'm like, the cat's out of the bag. Right. But the great thing is, Jim McKay, one of the greatest and most underrated broadcasters in the history of 20th century television broadcasters. He could have very easily said the cat was out of the bag after the second period because the game was long over when they did the tape delay. Instead, Jim McKay had a very big smile on his face and said, "We'll be back with the third period of the USSR game after this timeout as Olympic coverage continues on ABC." And that was all he did.
And he was like the Bill Costas of now, right?
Absolutely.
Like pitching back to the Al Michaels.
Right? When ABC had the Olympics, both summer and winter, he was Mr. Olympic coverage.
Costas, not Bill Costas.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. He was just absolutely phenomenal. So that whole thing, I'm within minutes of the ABC broadcast, and I'm within minutes of not knowing who won. Freaking Billy Jackson. Give me a call.
See, that confirms. Never trust someone with two first names. Billy Jackson, John Thomas.
Oh my God, we're back after this. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point. Oh, I feel bad for guys like Mike Vance. Can't trust him, sorry. Back in a bit, it's Running Point on ysnlive.com.
This is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before, but 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Rude. Michael relies on Rude, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
Yeah, they're going to give you an offer you can't refuse.
Never take sides against a family again.
Yeah, never take side against a Rude. Never, no. Fredo, I love you, but never take sides against a family ever again. Yeah.
I know it was you, Fredo.
That might have been the perfect role for Al Pacino to play.
Well, yeah.
A young Al Pacino. Now he's just, he's old and scraggly.
And there aren't too many roles after that I liked him in. I'm not
Son of a Woman.
I'm not a huge Al Pacino fan, but he nailed The Godfather.
Scarface?
Yeah. You don't have to be a good actor to make
On Any Given Sunday?
He was good in that. I'll give him props
Son of a Woman, he won an Academy Award.
Well, not everyone that wins an Academy Award is my cup of tea. But
well, I get that. Now I think
I don't have very popular acting opinions sometimes because I don't like Matthew McConaughey either, and everyone seems to love that guy.
All right. No,
he overacts the crap out of everything.
Here's the guy that should have won the Academy Award the year that Pacino won the Academy Award for Son of the Woman, or Son of a Woman. And that would be Nicholson in his iconic role as Colonel Nathan Jessup in A Few Good Men. That courtroom scene alone, the Academy Award should have freaking belonged to Nicholson.
And on that note,
on that happy note,
John, how you doing?
Let's go to the phone lines where we find John Vargo on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. John, how the freak are you? Oh Lordy! All right, now let's now that the show's gone completely sideways and Hollywoodized, let's get back into it. Let's get back into local sports. Hey, before we start talking about volleyball and soccer and the very interesting way that they're doing the postseason, let's talk about a sport that is on the horizon, and I say that tongue-in-cheek and with sarcasm because they are in the Horizon League after all, and that would be the YSU men's and women's basketball programs. John Barnes is coaching the women's program, and Jared Calhoun coaching the men's program. There is an awful lot of expectation, I should say, in both programs this year, John. Let's talk about what is going on in Youngstown when it comes to the preparations of the upcoming season.
Well, let's start off with the women's team. I went down to see them. They had their first practice today. They are experienced, But you also have to temper with that. You have a lot of freshmen and sophomores on this roster as well. So that is your dominated roster. So that being said, you do have the skill there, but you have players, they are starting to come together. I mean, things are happening here. I mean, Emma Randall, Malia Magestro from Kennedy, and the girl from Eden Prairie, and I don't want to butcher her name, so I'm not going to even say it. So it's like, so I'm just those three have come in. They've been quite adept to the system here. They've done well for themselves. You can probably see all three of them probably get some playing time this year on a deep bench for this team. So, and the big thing, what I said at the end of last year, you have 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" on your front line, and you're going to add to that, a couple other pieces and parts there to your interior. Add that to an already solid outside shooting team. I think this could be, a top three team in this league this year.
And you bring up something that is going to be screaming in terms of coaches' strategies. I mean, clearly when you have that large of a post presence and you don't normally see 6'2", 6'3", and 6'4" in any league, let alone the Horizon League, which is a mid-major. So the temptation would be, okay, let's pack a 2-3 zone defense or something that is going to try to slow down the post. Well, you don't necessarily can do that because YSU is such a great shooting team from the perimeter.
Right, and I just saw them today. It's like, the shooting drills. It's like one after another, right inside the 3-point line. It's like boom, boom, boom. It was like automatic for them. It's like, and that's what they do, and that's what they're predicated on. The outside shooting. If they're not going to kill you inside, they're going to smoke you from the 3-point arc. So it's like then their mid-range shooting isn't too bad either. And on top of that, their foul shooting is pretty spot on as well. So they usually have all facets of the game, and then add to that enhanced fact that John Barnes' defense is one of the toughest to get around here in the Horizon League. YSU seems like they have the total package. I think that the only X factor with this team, Ron, is that you're just going to have, freshmen who did get a lot of playing time because of injuries last year, but you also have the 3 incoming freshmen that I spoke about earlier that are trying to get a depth of the system. So you're going to have maybe a little bit of a learning curve at the beginning here, but I think by February hits, this team will probably be hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, and you brought up the youth, this team. If you were from an outside perspective, you look and say, why YSU is a very talented, inexperienced team, but the experience they got last season because of the injuries, as you said, how important do you think that's going to be going into this season?
Oh, that means your bench is much deeper. You have people you can go to, Anthony. You're able to say, hey, in the past, it's like, okay, maybe I got a little tough situation here. Maybe somebody's getting in foul trouble. Hey, I don't have a problem pulling the trigger. It's like going to somebody else on the bench, going to a sophomore and say, hey, I need you to play here in the last 2-3 minutes because somebody just fouled out. And you have a better grasp that they're going to handle the situation. They're not going to be timid. They're not going to run from it. They're going to go full bore right into it and be able to adjust and just maybe not even the drop-off is not going to be too much from the starters.
Here's one of the reasons why I'm going to say that this women's program has the ability or the capability of not only going to the NCAA tournament, but actually winning around like the Lady Penguins of royalty back in the mid-'90s and late '90s. Because if you want to seriously compare this Penguins team to the Penguins team circuit mid-'90s with Caroline McCombs and Colleen Cook in the backcourt, Shannon Beach, Liz Hoger, Anne-Marie Martin in the front court, a bunch of kids coming off the bench. Brianne Keneally at one point was a starter but came off the bench. Lisa Ratuno was coming off the bench at one point. John, even though this team has not played a game, if I were to put this 2020-2021 YSU women's team and match them up on paper with the mid-'90s teams that went to the NCAA tournament, this team that's coming up is very much on paper every bit as good as the teams that we saw play in the mid-'90s. That, to me, screams expectations galore for YSU, and I don't say that in a sense where I'm maybe expecting too much. I mean, if you look at these teams, this team, and compare it to the royalty of the mid and late '90s, they compare very well on paper, John.
Well, yeah, and I can't say, I wasn't around for that because I was over at Kent State. I was covering Bob Lindsay's team with Amy Sherry, B.J. Smith-Golden, and the rest of them over there at Kent State. So I was a student over at about 40 minutes west of us. So I got to see them in the '95 when they played Penn State. Obviously it was a blowout then, but it was a very talented team. So I think things are going to come around. I think they're not going to say that they're, that kind of team. I think this is maybe a different makeup, Ron, as far as, different ways of they're going to get things done. I don't like the comparisons, it's like, because I don't know. I know for radio it's a good thing, but for me it's just a little bit uneasy, because different teams have different styles and the way they handle things, and the way John Barnes handled things, and the way Ed DeGregorio handled things, the way Ed DeGregorio handled things are different systems there. So I think maybe this one is a more defensive oriented than the ones in the mid '90s, but they're still very talented teams and very much adept to handling what the situations are, game time situations, practice situations, everything that goes, every facet that goes along with it. I think this team will go as far as they need to, and I think maybe the only thing stopping them is probably themselves.
I think the one thing that it scares me just because it scares you with any youth team. It's nothing specific to YSU. How are they going to play in those premier games, the spotlight games, the Horizon Championship type games? How do you think they're going to handle the stage on the big nights where they really have to come to play to beat the contenders in the Horizon League, the Green Bays, for example, that are always just a really good team? You think they're going to be up for that challenge?
I think so. I think they're always up for the challenge. Barnes has them up. John Barnes has this team up no matter what. The focus is always there for this team. No matter if they're playing, maybe the worst team in the league, maybe they're playing a Division III team. The focus is always there. It's like whether you're playing Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, Indiana, they know what the task is at hand. Nothing really changes. There's not a fluctuation of highs and lows on this team. Everybody knows their role and knows what they have to do. And I think that the big thing is when you have a Chelsea Olsen who's been in the system for years, you have a Mary Dunn. You're relying, you McKenna Peters. You're relying on those trio of players to shape this team into the way it needs to be. And not only that, they're the coaches on the floor too. So no matter what John Nicolai, what Andy Crane, what John Barnes is saying to the players on the floor, those three are there to help translate it and reinforce it too. And the other thing is too, you have Mary Dunn, who was on the bench and pretty much in a coaching role last year for most of the season. So now she knows how to handle both sides of the ledger there. As far as it's like how do the players, the younger players need to adjust, and how they need to acclimate themselves, during practices, during workouts, and how do they need to get better, and how do they need to translate that from what the coaches are trying to tell them.
Well, I'll tell you this before we go to the men. You brought up Mary Dunn. She is going to be one hell of a coach wherever she goes post YSU career. If she wants to be a coach, she will be a really, really good coach someday.
Right, and I know she wants to be a professor too. So it's like I think that's her ultimate goal. She wants to get her PhD and the collegiate level. It's like working the academic side of things. So, but like I said, if she wants to coach, I know darn well she'll have a great career doing that as well.
And if you do a profile on her, you got to use the headline "Ain't done yet." It writes itself.
Yes, you got that right. You got that right. So, but she is full of life too, and that's what I like about this YSU women's team. I mean, there's so many good personalities on this team. It translates, it resonates not only with inside there with the coaches, but also with the fan base too.
Well, and you speaking of a team that has a lot of great personalities, that would also include the men. Jared Calhoun, when he came to Youngstown State, this will be his 4th year. He envisioned a team like the team he has right now, and I know games are not won and lost on paper, but John, you look at this team top to bottom. Oh my goodness! If it's not the most talented team YSU's had in a long time on paper, it's certainly up there. Yes,
and this harkens back to the mid-'80s. Dan Peters' run with a 20-win season, the 97-98 season, or John Robick's second season, 2000-2001. What can happen with this team? What can, they have Darius Quisenberry, Naz Bohannon. It's like you have, these Garrett Covington, probably is a 2-time all-defensive player in the Horizon League. Michael Akuche, it's like, and how much is he going to be a force there, not only in the middle, but, an outside shooting force too. So, those core guys are going to lead this team, and they have so many pieces around them too. But the way Jared, when Jared came into the system, when he started this whole thing, I hearken back to when Gary Waters took over the Kent State program. I thought, boy, this is exactly what the shot of energy YSU needed to come in. And no offense against Jerry Slocum, because Jerry had his own way of doing things. He had a bad run of luck. It's like, and things just fell apart near the after that 3-year run. They just had a couple little hiccups, and but you try your best, especially a low major to high mid-major program. You try your best and try everything you can, and some things work, some things don't. So, but what Jared has done is just, went out in the community, sold this program, had his players come to the forefront, as people know them, it's like around the community. They're visible on social media. You're having younger fans, say, hey, I know so-and-so. I know Naz. I've seen Darius. It's like, I know those guys. I can resonate with them. I follow them either on Instagram or Twitter, or TikTok. It's like they are known entities, just not only here, but around the Horizon League and around the country too, and they've just been, selling this program. And not only selling it, because sometimes words are, can be cheap, but they've backed it up, especially with that 18-win season last year.
And you talk about selling the program. One of the things that Calhoun has done that has made this extremely exciting season is the recruiting class he's brought in. It rivals Cleveland State. I think if you were to say the best recruiting class in the league this season, it'd be a toss-up between YSU and Cleveland State. Talk about some of the new guys that are coming in that makes this really exciting season for the Penguins.
Well, Will Dunn, we'll start with them. Will Dunn comes from Quincy, Michigan. It's right on north of the Ohio-Indiana border, so it's a southern part of Michigan. Smaller town, probably like, I'd say maybe around the McDonald's size, but I think it's probably a little bit bigger than that. So, but he was one of the bigger players in his league, it's like, and now he comes in here. He's worked his butt off, Jared loves him, it's like he thinks he has a great upside to him, in the way he works, the way he's able to do things. So it's like, I think he has a chance. Shake Traore, this guy could be a real force inside. The way he has a double-double, as far as points and rebounds, and his block shot ability. And when he played at Concord First Academy in North Carolina is just amazing. He's from the Ivory Coast originally, so he came over in 2017. He's 6'8", 220, and he is built. I mean, he is able to get up. He has a great vertical on him. This was a great find for YSU. So obviously he's going to have to, adjust his game a little bit, but Shake is going to be, something else. So another great player they have from Toronto, Ontario, Shamar Rathan-Mays, 5'11" guard, 165, and they are very high on him. Possibly the heir apparent to Darius when he leaves. So it's like, and he will also see time off the bench as well. So another guy who also played AAU ball with Shake is Miles Hunter, 6'5" guard, great outside shot, a good mid-range jumper, able to drive. He's done well for himself, so he's 6'5", 180 from Charlotte, North Carolina. And like I said, him and Shake played AAU ball together. They've stayed great friends. So that's the one good thing that I like about bringing these two guys here. They know each other, and sometimes it's hard when you bring somebody from states away. It's like they feel like they're maybe a little bit of an outsider. They don't know, it's like what's going on. So Miles and Shake knew what they are, knew each other, and they were able to, go from there and go out. But the great thing, guys, about this team is they envelop everybody who comes in the program. They do things as a team. They do, it's like whether they're in the dorm, whether they're going out to eat, it's all as a group. I mean, and when I was on the road with these guys, I mean, that's the way it was. I mean, these guys were as a group. They go through the city. They're there. It's like they're there as a huge gaggle. It's like, and it's pretty fun just to see the interaction between them. It's like, and it seems like, they've known each other for a lifetime, but, they've known each other probably for a year or two and, sometimes a couple years, but they become, great friends. And when I talked to Daniel Goro, who's from London, England, he said, maybe it took him a while, but it's like he says this group is probably one of the best groups he's been around too. So as far as another freshman goes, Alex Vargo, no relation to me. So from Wheeling, West Virginia, Wheeling Park High School, great inside presence, one of the leading scorers in school history. So down at Wheeling Park, and very high on him. I know Jason Slay was, very high when they recruited him. So, and he looks to, hopefully fill the part too, and get some minutes as well. So, and then Carson Ryan coming in, he's going to be as a walk-on. He's going to try to hopefully the next couple of years he can finally earn some minutes there. But I think he's going to work his tail off to be part of this Penguin program that he's so sought after to be part of. And lastly, Grayson Kelly, 6'2" senior, 195 grad transfer from Division II. He hopefully looks to add to the depth there at the guard position.
John Vargo, our guest, he covers the YSU men's and women's basketball program. He's the beat reporter, not only for the Tribune Chronicle, but now for the Vindicator as well. And, I made mention of this yesterday or 2 days ago. One of the cool things when the Tribune Chronicle got the Vindicator after the Vindicator went out of business in terms of the family that had their that previously owned the Vindicator, and then the Tribune Chronicle purchased the Vindicator. One of the cool things about the merger, if you will, is the fact that now those who were not subscribing to the Tribune Chronicle are able to see the brilliant writers that were in the Tribune Chronicle, and now you get to see the John Vargos of the world and see their work. Their written work, and you do a great job, John, and I'm not saying that because you're a weekly guest of the show. I'm saying it because it's the truth. You do a fantastic job as a beat reporter for the YSU men's and women's basketball program, and you bring that energy that a beat reporter should have, and we're blessed to have a lot of those folks. I know Joe Simon, does a phenomenal job covering the YSU football program, and we'll see some of that work in late winter, early spring as well.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting time for all of us, because I can't imagine, it's like we're going to have everything lumped at once. It's like when football starts, and then you have basketball tournaments, and then you'll have, not only college but high school, and then, if wrestling goes on, it's like you'll have that, swimming and everything else going at one time. So it's, yeah, my head's spinning just thinking about that. So it's like that's going to be some crazy times when we hit February and March. So it's like that's going to be something else. And I'm curious to see how football is going to be, and how people are going to gravitate. I know football is football. People watch it, but I'm just curious to see if people were going to go out. If it becomes like a blizzard outside, or people are going to go out and still watch it. It's like, or during the spring, or people are just going to be excited about baseball. Or whatnot. So.
And not to mention the other fall sports that are going to be starting at that time, too. I mean, it's going to be really hectic at YSU's campus. God love their SIDs.
Yes, absolutely, Anthony, because they are going to earn every bit of their money right there, because that's going to be something else when everything is going on at one time, whether it's be indoor track and field, outdoor track and field. I mean, I could go through the litany of it, it's like, but my goodness, they're going to be running everywhere, trying to get everything on their website, and it's going to be the fast and the furious at YSU.
John Vargo, our guest. John, before we let you go, we got to talk about this expanded district tournament where you swallow up two districts at once and have the top two go to regional play. This is going to be happening in volleyball as well as boys and girls soccer. What do you think of this new concept in a COVID season that the OHSAA is doing here?
I think it's interesting. I really do. I think it just brings more back to the way that basketball used to be. It's like I'm just using basketball as a reference as far as, okay, we're going to pick where we're going to go in the bracket. We're going to go here. So you're going to have your top two seeds, go into separate brackets, and everybody else is going to start picking where they're going to go from there. Because, wow, it's an interesting time, because it's like I have, just for example, Howland and Poland, I was hoping to see them in a district final, but they went opposite brackets. So it's like so now, got to see somebody else play Howland in a district final, and probably Howland's going to win that. But, it's weird, but then again, what isn't in 2020?
And another thing that I kind of like, and it's positive definitely for us in the media, is now you have more teams in the area with chances to get out of a district, because you don't have the best teams in the area playing each other for a district championship. So, in soccer, Howland and Poland can both win a district championship now because they're in opposite districts.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe you can meet in a regional semifinal or final. It's like, and I know I read from the OHSAA that some regional sites might be home sites too. So that's another thing that, especially if you have two local teams around here that are going to meet here in soccer or volleyball. I mean, that's something, people might not be able to go inside the stadium, but I mean, they can line the fences, and, be the knothole gang, and watch from outside the stadium. So it's like, I think it's great for the area. It's like, especially we can get some more representation at the regional level for soccer and volleyball.
Now, here's the thing that I don't like, and I wish the OHSAA would have thought a little bit more through the regional aspect of it. So from what we're told, the top two teams in each of the two supersized districts are going to go to the regional. So my thought is, why not have, because clearly you're going to have the top seed play in one side of the bracket, the 2 seed's going to play in the other side of the supersized district bracket, and it's going to be the same way on the other district, supersized districts. So instead of playing a 1 seed versus a 1 seed in the regional semifinals like we're going to see in boys Division II soccer, where you could see Bay Village Bay playing Howland in what should be a regional championship game, why wouldn't the OHSAA look at this and say, okay, assuming everything goes chalk, you're going to have a 1 and a 2 seed in each supersized district. So instead of having the 1s play each other in a regional semifinal, why not go crossways where the 1 in one of the supersized districts plays the 2 in the other district, and go with the 1 and the 2, and we're cross referencing the 2 supersized districts, with the top half of one district playing the bottom half of the other district in a regional semifinal. That way, there is still the possibility of 2 number 1 seeds playing each other for a regional championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it would be a shame to see Howland and Bay meet up in, let's say, the regional semifinal, where, honestly, I would like to see that in a state final. It's like to see those 2 teams meet there, because those are the 2 best teams in Division II. I mean, Howland is still a very good team, and to face Bay, I think that would be, and to say if you're a Howland team, if you can beat Bay, in a state final, wow. I mean, not only win a state championship something, but to beat a caliber team like that, I mean that would be something else for Brian Stiles and the Tigers.
And, I was telling Ron, to my understanding, everyone got to kind of pick what bracket they wanted to go in. So there are some regions and some districts where that is going to happen. And I'm looking at like Division III volleyball, for example. Crestview is the 1 seed, and they'll play the 2 seed of their, the other super district, and then the other super district will be the 1 seed Independence playing the 2 seed of Crestview's super bracket. So I imagine, it wasn't structured, the OHSA said this is going to have to happen, but it's still a possibility based on how the teams decided where to go in the brackets.
Right. It's so weird because it happened in soccer too. It's like you have, maybe one team and the other team just like, we don't want to play them. And it's like, so we're just going to go to the other bracket and leave in the other bracket with, the one good team and maybe a rest of other teams that are like, well, okay, it's like, so, I mean, it makes for a very uneven brackets for this scenario.
Do you know, have they finalized, like, state championship sites for those sports yet? I mean, I know volleyball used to be down at Wright State, but I don't even know if that's going to be a thing anymore.
Yeah, because I know Montgomery is still up for, I don't know if they've solidified that or another center. So it's like, I don't know if either one have been, I think they're still in discussions for both of them. So it's like, because I know they had a positive COVID test for the Columbus Crew the other, I know they're back in action tonight. So they're playing Cincinnati tonight. So go Crew. So they were out for last Saturday's game or Sunday's game. I'm sorry, but so I don't know what the situation with Montfray is. I just hope it's still played at Montfray, to be honest with you, because to me, to play it someplace else, like another high school in Columbus area, would kind of cheapen the state final experience, for these kids. I mean, because that's what you work for, It's like, because like in football, you're going to play at Hall of Fame Stadium. You're going to play at Tom Benson Stadium there in Canton, right in the shadow of the Hall of Fame. I mean, no cooler event. Or you get to play, at Ohio Stadium where Ohio State plays. You have that, that golden ring. It's like that big experience, is playing in that stadium there. For soccer, that'd be playing at Montfray. It's like, and then for volleyball, playing at another center has been a staple for years. So it's like, I mean, I'm just hoping with the COVID situation, they're able to work this out.
Hey, John, before we let you go, obviously round 2, the Sweet 16 of each region, if you will. there's already 2 games statewide that have been canceled because of COVID outbreaks. And, as we have mentioned from the get-go of this tournament, this is not one of those we reschedule. If your team is unable to play, you're done playoff-wise. And that's cold, but that's the harsh reality of our COVID 2020 season in high school football. As we look at the schedule Friday and Saturday nights, are you concerned of the teams that had a bye that were idle last week on whether or not they're going to be able to get it going and be able to play with the same vigor that they did earlier in the season?
Well, I know one team that won't have that problem is Austintown Fitch. I mean, T.J. Parker is going to have his guys. There was no off days. He knew these guys are mentally ready and mentally prepared. They've been ready since he took over the program back in December. I mean, they've been preparing for this moment for quite a while, and this is the playoff run they wanted. So, I mean, they are going to be prepared. I mean, Harding, I think that's going to be a close game with Maple Heights. I really do. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Harding can end up pulling that out. So. But the one upset I would say is possible this weekend. Look for Cheney to possibly come out of New Philadelphia with an upset this week. So
I'm with you on that.
I think they can come out of there New Philly because they played Canfield tough, and Canfield blew New Philly out of the water. I'm just basing it on that, and frankly, on 2020, that's burned me more than a couple times looking at comparison records because that doesn't mean squat in this season. So. But if Howland's able to do their thing, I think they could give Chardon a little bit of run. But I'm afraid Chardon's going to stack the box and make Eric Babanchek. It's like make them Howland throw the ball. So it's like because Chardon's a very good team, and it just looks like those Akron City schools had little or no preparation. Because the COVID just ended up getting them in the worst way. It's like because they had 2 games under the belt before they started the playoffs.
Here's another game that I'm finding really interesting, and it could be an upset alert. Is a rematch. Really, it's LeBray going to Brookfield. I know Brookfield beat him up in week 2, but you talked to LeBray; they weren't exactly healthy. And Devin Carter has started to run like a man on a mission. I think the Vikings can go to Brookfield, and if not beat them, give them a much better game than 35-7 that we saw in week 2.
Oh, I think that's going to be one of our better games that we're going to cover this weekend. So it's like that is going to be something else. Like you said, it's going to be, a LeBray team that is much healthier and able to, hang with a Brookfield team. It's like because Hayden Gibson can do, is probably one of the best quarterbacks in this area. And the way he's, handled Brookfield this year has been second to none. So it's like the way these two MVAC, grade tier teams are going to battle in the second round. It's going to be quite fun to see on this weekend.
John, always a pleasure. We will look forward to catching up with you next week, brother.
No problem. Take care, guys.
You got it. John Vargo from the Vindicator and Tribune Chronicle. And I'll say it again. The best part of those 2 papers combining is now the Vindicator fans and those that were not exposed to the Tribune Chronicle get an opportunity to read his work.
And Vargo's also a very good presence on social media, which I think is a good aspect for a beat reporter. You have to know what you're doing on social media and be able to give updates on the games that you're covering. And he does a wonderful job in that aspect. I remember back in my day before I joined YSN, I was running the South Range Twitter account. And how many times I used him for either scores of South Range games that I couldn't attend or scores of games that I knew South Range was playing next week and I wanted to, stay updated on that kind of stuff. But he does a really good job, not just writing, but also with his social media presence.
Yeah, whenever the Penguins have, or there's a break in the action, you look over and there's John on his iPhone or whatever he uses. And I'm just like, damn, you're busy, son.
You busy.
Yeah,
that's what you got to do as a beat reporter in the world of which this is prevalent. You got to do it.
It's no joke. That's literally a computer in your hand. I mean, so you got to use it.
It's a better computer than the ones that we had growing up.
Well, yeah, we had growing up.
Well, for me, growing up, I didn't have a computer, but
see, I'm a guy that I grew up with not a lot of technology, but I also, I was in high school when technology became a big thing, so I know both aspects. And I remember the laptops that were like 12 megabytes tops, and you could basically write Word documents on them, and that's it. And then I remember floppy disks, and I remember having to save stuff on floppy disks. And,
oh God, now you're going back a ways.
But now we're in a different world, and I'm the part of the generation that grew up in both, so I can have respect for the way it used to be done. But
so we didn't have computers until, and I want to say my senior year in high school, they started doing computers, and we were like, "What the hell are you talking about?
What's this?
Yeah,
black magic.
What is this? We're black magic over there. Turn on the TV, and all of a sudden you get all kinds of stuff going. You got to pick a little thing in here. What is this? I had a next door neighbor who had a computer my senior year in high school, and I'm like, George, what the hell are you? What is this? And he goes, oh man, he says this is the greatest thing in the world. I can do this, and this, and I'm like. Huh? Yeah. So that's for those of you that were millennials that grew up and have used computers your whole life, be fortunate, because those of us that didn't have a computer till late teens, early 20s.
Quentin comes in on cue with the laptop in his hand.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't have any of this crap until I was in my at least mid 20s. So it is what it is. It's just, and you look at this and you go, really? Now, my computer knowledge, limited. I go, whenever I see my dad on the computer, I laugh my butt off because he's just like, what am I supposed to do? Okay. Yeah.
What do you mean open a window? The window is open.
Yeah, exactly. What do you mean open a window? I don't want to open a window. It's cold as hell outside.
My dad, the funniest thing, he's not exactly, he gets around, but he's not like computer literate per se. The one time he got like a FaceTime and it freaked him out because all of a sudden he opened his phone and his face was on top of the screen.
Yeah.
And he thought someone was like breaking into his phone camera or something. He's like, Anthony! For the rest of the day, he had his phone like this so no one could see his camera.
Yeah.
So it's funny.
That's good stuff.
It's funny.
All right, 330-886-0813. Back in a bit.
Before we go, I think Don Vargo's absolutely right. I think LeBray Brookfield might be the game of the week. Game of the
Mooney and Garfield might be the.
Yeah, that'll be good too. But I think, especially because it's local, and it's two teams on our board, LeBray versus Brookfield.
Brookfield could be fun.
Could be really fun.
Yeah, that could be a fun game to watch. There are no two ways about that. We're back in a bit. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts
Boy is recovering from a broken
around our valley.
Community in Niles. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect.
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
More local news.
In Mercer County Court.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point. Ron Pochesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig. Before we go local, I got to bring this up. And it's not anything to do with politics, but it is about the Supreme Court confirmation meeting. Ben Sasse, Republican senator from Nebraska. You, sir, I will vote for you anytime, any place, anywhere. I don't know how this was brought up. I honestly don't care how this was brought up. Ben Sasse, in the middle of the confirmation hearing of Amy Coney Barrett, or whatever the hell her name is, from Notre Dame, who's up for the Supreme Court justice, Ben Sasse goes completely off topic and, quoting him, "I'd like to talk about the Houston Astros, who are miserable cheaters." You have my vote, sir. Anytime, any place. I don't care about your political beliefs because of the fact that you just threw down the Houston Astros being the cheaters that they are in the middle of a Supreme Court justice hearing. You, sir, bow down respect to you. That is phenomenal what you just did.
The best filibustering I've ever seen in my life.
That is outstanding. That is outstanding. All right. So now we can proceed with local stuff. We have a bit of news to share with everyone regarding one of the games that we will be, well, technically right now we are scheduled to be airing.
A couple of games. This is as of now YSN broadcast for the playoffs. We will not be carrying the Niles versus Streetsboro game at Streetsboro. They have told us, we're working on it, but as of now we don't have that covered. And also Mooney going to Garfield. That will, as of now, of course, be on Boxcast, not YSN. We're working on, tirelessly trying to work with Garfield and Streetsboro to get at least a link to them on our site. But that's an ongoing story, so stay tuned to YSN for ways to watch those two games. Everything else will be on YSN as normal.
It is so much easier from a local standpoint where everything is pretty much a given, where we're going to be able to go and do the games and whatnot. When we go to the regionals and go to out of town, out of community schools, now you get to the pecking order of, okay, what are these teams? What is their preference? What is their pecking order? And then you have to take into consideration the size of the press box. If the press box isn't large, there's not going to be very many media entities that are going to be allowed to do the game. And that's unfortunately some of the aspects that we're definitely going up against. So as of right now, the Niles game up in Streetsboro, as of now, and hopefully this changes, but as of now, we're not going to be able to air that particular game. Hopefully, in the next couple of days, we can figure out a direction to go to. Garrisfield Garfield is a little bit different. They have a service. Boxcast. So that's where things get a little bit interesting. Where okay, let's see if we're able to air the game via Boxcast instead of via our local entity of YSN. So all of this stuff gets a little tricky once you get into the regionals, and the further along you go, the more obscure the team is, and depending on the area, depending on the size of the press box, things could get interesting.
And good news is we have quite a few teams that, in COVID world, that might get the chance to host for a while. So
absolutely, and kudos to those teams. When
the road to the regional final goes through Fitch, so if Fitch takes care of business, we'll have no problems with that whole region. And if
if Hoban happens to get bounced, that's about as good a chance of that happening as me dating a supermodel, neither here nor there. If Hoban were to get bounced, then you have Fitch all the way through the regional championship. South Range is another team. The road through the regional finals or to the regional finals, South Range has a home game regardless. Warren JFK and Leetonia is the 3 seed. So if Lucas, the 2 seed, were to get beat, Leetonia would have a path to the regional finals, assuming they win games. So there are some teams in our YSN family that do have very high seeds. Therefore, we're going to be able to do their games.
Took care of business.
Yeah, we take care of business. See, I'm teaching you a word, business, not business, business. Yeah. So, and what was it earlier today? We recognized volleyball, like a mullet haircut, business in the front, party in the back.
Right. The liberos doing the party in the back row. The blockers doing the business work in the front. So
there you go. And with the volleyball tournaments coming up, we will most definitely be all over that as well.
Yep. And we have a lot of 1 seeds. That Lakeview is a 1 seed in Division 2. Crestview is a 1 seed in Division 3. Middle Ridge a 1 seed in Division 4. So we have 3 1 seeds in our coverage area that have good chances of getting at least into regional semifinal.
Now let me ask you: is it the same format as football, where as long as you're the 1 seed, you're guaranteed home game?
As of now, in volleyball, high seed hosts the whole.
Okay.
So and they haven't even announced if they're going to do the regional spot yet, as John Vargo brought up. So it could be high seed host all the way up until
regional championships.
So.
Yeah. Well, I could see where,
now,
and
if
again,
it's a 1 versus 1 in the semifinals. I don't know how they're going to do that, but
even if you go 1 versus 1 in the regional championship game, I mean,
right.
you can't put one of those teams in the home field. I got to believe it's got to be a happy medium and play neutral site.
COVID world might just be, hey, we're going to have 1 team host. That way we don't have to have both teams travel to a site that really out of our control.
And by the way, I don't want to sound horrible when I'm describing our the next Supreme Court justice. It's Amy Coney Barrett. I had a brain
Corrected
freeze.
Yourself.
Yeah,
Good
I had a brain freeze. But Ben Sass, you sir.
sir.
Props to you. I will vote for you anytime, any place, anywhere, because we need more people in Washington to say the Houston Astros are a bunch of freaking cheaters.
You, sir, are a gentleman and a scholar.
Yeah, gentleman and a scholar, son. We salute you. Power Hour is going to be coming up.
Got a lot of fun things to talk about in the Power Hour, so tune into that.
What is today? Isn't it National Dessert Day today?
Again, let me go to the group chat. Today is.
I know it's
National Dessert Day.
Yeah, I thought it was National Dessert Day.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're missing the great power. That'd be one that you're good at.
Well, now let me ask you.
Yeah.
What's your go-to dessert?
Oh man, it's brownies. I love the fudge brownies.
There you go.
There you go.
Now,
No nuts. You can't have nuts.
I will say this, and my mother makes an unbelievably good Dutch-style apple pie, and that's where you have the nice crust, and then you got the crimples on top of the apple. Oh my God, this off-the-chain, ridiculous good. Put a little bit of ice cream on that, and I'm gaining 20 pounds. So that's good stuff. And then in Christmas time, this is a staple in Casa de Potesta, double iced brownies. So that's good stuff too.
Double iced. Man,
double iced brownies, where you have the chocolate brownie in the middle or on the bottom. You've got this vanilla type of sugary topping in the middle, more chocolate on top, and it's crazy good.
I have to go see Gary at the Lisbon Dairy Queen and get some dessert now.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, Power Hour is coming up next. Have a great rest of the Wednesday. We're back at it Thursday talking with high school coaches. We'll see how many of the Friday nights coaches will be able to get on the air and talk about the upcoming second round of the OHSAA playoffs.
I'll be back on Monday.
And you'll be back on Monday. And Monday nights,
hopefully 2 hours after our show, too.
Hopefully my Bills will show up and be healthy and play a game. Otherwise, it's going to be a long night in Orchard Park. That'll do it for the show. We'll talk tomorrow, noon to